Fucking, so you're into the Mr. Ballen, eh?
Yeah, I've been spent the last couple days watching Mr. Ballen. His videos, guys. He's got some crazy stuff on there, man.
Yeah, dude, he's got some really good. He's a great storyteller too. If you haven't checked out Mr. Ballen on the old YouTube, which obviously he's got 10 million followers already, so he's got a lot of subscribers on there.
Yeah.
I started watching his stuff just before I moved here, so like 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And he had like no followers. Yeah. Yeah, and he's up to like 10 million now. Oh, the guy's just killing it.
The guy's stuff's amazing.
Yeah, he's a hell of a storyteller.
Yeah, I've watched some pretty crazy ones. I just watched, what did I just watch? Oh, it was Flight 401. The Ghost of Flight 401.
Oh, yeah.
Heard about those ones?
Yeah.
So Flight 401 crashed, and what happened was there was a light that was supposed to come on when the front landing gear came down, and they were going to land, and that light didn't come on. So they were worried that the landing gear wasn't coming down. So they detoured off, and they were flying around, and the pilot turned, and he told the engineer to actually go down to where the landing gear was and check it physically, make sure it was down. Yeah. And so the engineer started going down, but when he turned, he flicked his controls with his knee. Yeah. And he came out of autopilot. Oh, and the plane just started banking slowly towards the ground. Nobody realized. They're all worried about this, and they hit the ground without even realizing that they were.
That's crazy,
right? Something like, I think it was like 100 and something passed or something, like 90 died and 70 lived or something.
Yeah,
like that.
So a bunch lived though.
Yeah, but they took a bunch of parts from these planes.
Oh yeah,
and they put them in other planes.
Yeah,
they were perfectly good parts on a brand new plane. Yeah. And all of these other planes started seeing ghosts.
Yeah, dude, I heard about that.
And like literally, like apparently there was this one point where there was somebody on the plane started freaking out because this guy just materialized beside her. Yeah. And the flight attendant comes over and she's trying to talk to him and he won't talk back. He's dressed up as a captain. And so they call the captain out to come talk to this guy. And the captain comes out and gets down and looks in his face and he's like, oh my God, this is the pilot that died. And the guy just disappeared.
That's nuts, man.
Right? Just totally gone.
And multiple people seeing the same thing?
Yeah, multiple people seeing the same thing.
Yeah,
the same pilot, they saw the engineer. In fact, apparently there was one point, the engineer walked up to the pilot of a plane and he said, hey, this is the dead engineer. Yeah. Right? The one that died in the crash. He walked up to the pilot of the plane. He said, hey, you have a malfunction in your engine. This is how you find it. Crazy. And so the pilot went and grabbed a mechanic. They checked the engine. Sure thing. There's that malfunction in the engine. He actually saved him.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then apparently the airline that was using those parts, they actually at one point there, they just kind of quietly, they'd never agreed that any of this stuff happened. They wouldn't admit to it. But they just kind of silently went in and took all the parts.
Took all the parts that they used on those different planes, took them all out.
Yeah, just took them all out and boom, no more sightings.
I know, isn't that crazy?
But yeah, like there was multiple
sightings. That's like one of the most solid evidence for like a haunting one because so many people seen that. I remember that after you started talking about that one.
Yeah, that one was crazy.
That is pretty crazy, man.
Like just wild.
Yeah. One of my favorite ones that he has on there is about the Nahanni Valley here in the Northwest Territories in Canada. Yeah. It's called the Headless Valley. Yeah. So like back in the early I think it was like 1950s, early 1920s or 30s. It was early 1900s. Mm-hmm. There was this Nahanni Valley is like super remote in the Northwest Territories. Like you can't just get in there. And there's this huge river that flows through. These guys, two brothers and a dude, decided they were going to go in there to try to pan for gold. Yeah. So they go in there. They go down this. It's called the Flat River, but apparently it's anything but. But you go down this river. And there's like these huge canyons that are, they had to like paddle for weeks and portage to get to this place even, right? Hike and shit, it's super remote. But these cliffs are like 1,000 feet high and they got these crazy caves in them that like nobody's ever been in or seen anything, right? And you could see them from the water at these caves are there. Yeah. But, so these brothers, they all go out there. They ended up finding a bunch of gold and they were on their way back and they flipped their raft. And they ended up salvaging some of the stuff to try to to go pan for more gold, go back to where they found it, right? But they couldn't do it. So they ended up going back to town and the two brothers and the guy were like, hey, we're going to go back next year. We got to go back there. One of the brothers decided to stay back. He didn't go. This guy and the other dude went. They go and they picked up somebody else to go to along the way. They're supposed to be back the next year. That's how there's no cell phones, no nothing, right? They're like, we'll see you in a year. We're going to go to this complete remote spot see you in a year.
Yeah.
A year goes by, they don't see him. He doesn't come back. So they're like, what the hell? Like, they wait till spring. They're supposed to be back at spring or whatever, right? They never came. So spring comes and goes. They wait till like summer. Summer comes and goes. They haven't come back yet. So they like wait till the fall. And they're like, okay, like, we got to send a search party out there to go see what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So they send a search party out there. On that stretch of the flat river, there's like no beaches along the side of it. It's really deep too, apparently, down where these cliffs come down, right? But there's just one beach at the end, and they're coming up to it. And they see a tent sitting on the beach. So they pull off, and they recognize it. They're like, that's their tent or whatever, right? They find one of the guys is outside of the tent with his head cut off. His head's missing. Body's still sitting there. There's a guy behind the tent who's reaching for a gun that's leaned up against a tree. The gun is still there. Yeah. His head's cut off, and his body's still sitting there. The third guy is missing altogether. They never find that guy, right? The tent was kind of in disarray, like it had been collapsed. Obviously, been sitting there for quite a while, so they knew it happened a long time ago. They end up finding the other guy's body like a couple miles downstream or something. And there was thoughts that maybe that guy, they found gold, and that guy originally like killed those two dudes, killed the brother and his friend, and took the gold for himself, right? But they didn't find no gold with the guy or whatever. So that was the first cases of the headless dudes. Yeah. Then they go back. Some other people come out there. This other guy goes out there. He builds a cabin out there, and he's going to go mining for gold. He's out there by himself. And somehow he ran into like a trapper or somebody who was out there, and he told them that he was going to be back at a certain time, and he never came back. And these people decided to go look for him. They find him. His cabin's burnt to the ground. When they come out to where his cabin was, cabin's burnt to the ground. He's in his sleeping bag outside of his cabin with his head missing. Jesus. Yeah. And they're like, what the hell? Like, head's completely gone. Yeah. Yeah. Several other people. So there's people were out there camping. There's a group of people. They were out there camping. And in the middle of the night, there was a group of people camping on one side of the river. And a dude who was camping by himself was like, word got out that those guys found gold a couple of years prior. So now there was people starting to get in there and trying to find this gold, right? So there's more people now in the area. This one guy was all by himself on the other side of the river. He could see the people camping on the other side, and he just didn't want to bug them, so he stayed off to his own side of the river. He said he was sleeping. In the middle of the night, he could hear these, like somebody was throwing rocks into the water. And he's like, what the hell? He goes out and looks up. There's this naked woman running up this frickin' mountain. He said that was super steep. And at first he was going to be like, hey, are you okay? Like, call out to her. She turned around. He said the look on her face was like the most terrifying thing he's ever seen in his life. Like, she was not a human being. He said, like, the look on her face was absolutely terrifying. He was scared shitless. And she just fucking scurried up the hill, took off, and he's like, what the hell? Later on, he finds out that some chick went missing from that camp. Yeah. And he went and told later on, hey, like, yeah, I was by you guys, and this chick fucking scurried up the mountain. Like, I don't know what was going on with her. Like, almost like she was possessed or something. Yeah. Totally fucking creepy, dude. Several other people they find with their heads cut off. Yeah. Fish and Wildlife goes out there and investigate all these things, and the cops, right? What they say happened is that a grizzly bear attacked these people. I know bears, guys. Bears don't just take people's heads off, okay? They'll eat you. Like, they're there to eat. They're not there to, like, keep trophies like we do and wall mount them. Yeah. You know, they'll, especially your head. There ain't no meat on your head. So, like, whatever was going on, there's some theories, right? That maybe there was, like, an uncontacted native tribe back there that was offing people or something. Yeah. Or there was some skinwalkers or some creatures that were living up in those caves that nobody's ever got to see. But pretty terrifying. They don't even let people now. Canada Parks doesn't let people into that certain area, apparently, which is also weird. It's like, if there's nothing there to worry about, if there's just a bear, why don't you let people go in there and check it out, right? Yeah. What I would really love to do is go down in that area, fly some drones up just to peek in those caves at least. Because they're like pretty high up on these things, right? Nobody's ever been in them or even looked in them. But who knows what's up in those places, dude. There could be some creepy things up in there. There could be some creepy things. But yeah, all these people missing their heads, Headless Valley. And that's what the name is. You just type in Headless Valley, Northwest Territories in Canada, it'll come up. The stories are crazy, man. And this went on to like the 80s thing. Yeah. Like, not that long ago, dude. There was people going in there, and there was people going missing, and people coming finding them with their heads cut off. Mm-hmm. It's like, what is going on there? It's pretty weird. They all had guns. They were all armed. Like, I don't know. But I'd like to get to the bottom of it. I'll tell you that right now. I told some buddies that I wanted to go check it out. They're like, I'm not going with you down there. What are you talking about? People are getting their heads cut off and you want to go down there? I'm like, it'll be like a Blair Witch style film, you know? Yeah. We'll go in there and make a movie out of it, but be in the real place. We're like, fuck no. not going there. Like, you kidding me?
I'll go there a year later and find your footage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, found footage thing. Yeah, but it'd be real this time. Yeah. They would actually find my footage, and old poor Donnie's getting his head chopped off.
Oh, speaking of that, for all the people out there, for all of you who weren't the right age at the right time when the Blair Witch came out, that shit was fucking terrifying.
Yeah, dude. And that was like the original one.
Real.
Yeah, the original found footage one, man. People were thinking that was real. And it was pretty sketchy. That's kind of what I wanted to do with this. Because it's a perfect opportunity for it.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be really cool to check it out and see what's actually going on back there. But
I watched another one of his on I'm sure it was Skinwalkers. This kid, his dad died, and they had a cabin, and they were going to sell the cabin. Yeah. It's up in the States somewhere. I can't remember where. But this kid decided, okay, if you're going to sell the cabin, he's like 16. He's like, if you're going to sell the cabin, I want to just take my car up there and have a weekend up there, and just remember my old memories and stuff.
Yeah.
So he fucking heads up there. And I guess for the first night, everything's great. He's playing his PS5. It's a super nice cabin out in the middle of nowhere, right? And then he gets up the next day, and he's going through some stuff, and he looks outside, and it had snowed a foot, but there was some footprints out. Looked like somebody had walked out of the bush and kind of off the side of that. So he went and looked, and the cabin was kind of built into the mountain, and the tracks kind of went up the mountain beside him. He thought, well, okay, that's weird, but maybe one of the neighbors came by from, 10 miles away.
Yeah.
And walked past. And then that night, he's getting ready for bed. And he's lying down. He says he's got his dog with him. Eh?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, his dog gets up, and it's like zeroed in on the front entrance there in a loft, kind of have some stairs, and zeroed in on the front entrance. It's like, okay, I guess the dog needs to go pee, right? So he takes the dog down, and he opens the door and lets it go out, and the dog goes out and starts barking and shit and whining. So he calls the dog back in, and he takes it back upstairs, but this dog's still zeroed in on the entrance, right?
Yeah.
It's still, it's like something's there. And then all of a sudden he says he hears footsteps on the roof.
Yeah, dude. I heard that one, man. That is nuts.
And there's no way, it would have had to, whatever it is, had to climb up on the roof, but there was no climbing up on the roof. It was just all of a sudden footprints on the roof.
Yeah, man.
Right? And then I think he heard some footsteps out on the balcony, right out in front of him. And then they kind of went away, and he said he grabbed his flashlight, and then now the dog wants to get out on the balcony, right?
Yeah.
So he grabbed his flashlight, and he goes out there, and he turns his flashlight on, and he jumps out, and he looks up on the roof, and there's nothing there. And then he's looking at the tree line, and there's nothing there. And there's just one tree out in front, and had this long branch sticking off of it. And he said he's looking around at the tree line trying to see. And then he comes to this tree with the branch sticking, and he kind of gets to the tree, and he goes up, and there's this thing hanging in the tree with this big mouth wide open. It's like humanoid, but all white and shit.
Yeah, terrifying.
And it's just hanging in the tree, right, looking at him. He's like, what the fuck? And he closes the door. And he said for the rest of the night, that thing walked around the house and knocked on the side of the house.
Yeah.
All night long, just knocking on the side and going around to the doors and knocking on the glass, knocking on the windows.
Can you imagine?
All night long. And he said he got up the next day. The sun came up, it stopped knocking, and he went out and he looked around, and he said there was just a ring of something was walking around the house all night.
Yeah, and on his balcony.
And on his balcony.
Yeah, it's tracks on his balcony.
Yeah, on his balcony. It was knocking on his balcony door,
dude,
and
he's window.
He's literally terrified. The thing's 20 feet and some glass between them.
Yeah, and he was saying, he knew it was on the balcony, but he's like, I couldn't bring myself to go look through the curtains, or I didn't want to see what it was. I couldn't do it. Yeah, and probably made the right decision. Yeah.
Gets up the next morning in the tent, sees all those tracks, and hops in his car and leaves.
Yeah.
Right.
Imagine seeing that old fucking Christina Freeland just hanging in your tree. Yeah. Oh man, that's terrifying. That's a great channel, man. There's hours of entertainment on that.
Yeah.
He sucked me in.
If you ever get the chance, just remember to subscribe on our stuff first, and then go over and check his channel out.
And then you can go check out Mr. Ballen.
Yeah, it's worth it. The man is a great storyteller.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's got some good stuff going there.
He's definitely earned his followers.
Yeah, no kidding, man. He's got. I like that thing he does at the beginning too, where he's like, you take the like button outside, hog tie it, throw it to the wolves or whatever. Yeah. He's got some special little thing for the like button.
Yeah, that's awesome. Pretty good.
Yeah. Lures you in there a little bit.
And all of his stories though, they're not ghost stories. They're stories that someone has happened to actual people, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of them have like corroboration too, right?
Yeah.
They're just like, people, they're like as well-known ones or whatever.
Speaking of corroboration, I just watched this other one. I've been sucked into this guy's channel pretty hard over the holidays here. There was this other one, these 9/11 operators in this town in America that were getting calls like once a week from this old lady that had dementia and her husband had died, right? And they would get a call and she'd be like, can you come over and cook me this, or can you come over and do this? And they're like, sorry, you can't call 911 for this.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, okay, and she'd hang up. And it happened like once a week, and they come to realize that she had dementia, so they kind of had this whole protocol built around when she called,
Yeah.
about telling her, no, sorry, you can't call 911 for this kind of stuff. But I guess one day she calls, and she's like, honey, you have to come home right now. I'm in trouble. I need you. You have to come home right now. So now they send a police car out, right?
Yeah.
So they get out there, and the police car goes in. Her front door is open on her house. And whenever they called, her address came up, right? I guess that happens with 911.
Yeah.
So, so the police officer goes, the door's open, he opens the door, he goes upstairs, and comes to realize this lady has passed away in her bed, right? It was super cold in there for a while. I guess they thought she'd passed away way earlier, but then they came to the conclusion because it was cold, it was probably like within minutes of making the phone call that she passed away.
Yeah.
So she passes away, and a week later, they get a phone call.
Yeah.
It's the same old lady. She's like, honey, can you please come home? I'm so scared. I need you. And because it's somebody calling saying that they need help, and they have the address, they have to send a cop out.
Yeah.
So they send the cop out, right? Cop goes there. Door's open, goes in, finds nothing. A week later, they get a call. Like once a week.
Yeah, that's nuts, man.
But then the house burns down. Right? Something happens. The house burns down. The next week they get a call.
Yeah, dude, to no house
from this,
there.
They get a hold of the phone company, and the phone company's like, that phone has been disconnected since she died.
Yeah, that's nuts,
there's like no way, but they said we'll look into it. They looked into it and they're like, nope, there's nothing. They thought maybe they had a recording of her that was somehow lost in the system and it was getting patched through.
Going through.
And they told them that, and they're like, no, it's a different call every time. She says different things. It's not a recording. So like
that's nuts, man.
So they keep getting a call like once a week for this year, and they have to send a cop out to this burned down house.
That's crazy, man.
To check to see if anybody needs help for a whole year.
That's nuts.
And then all of a sudden the calls just stopped.
Yeah,
but literally 911's got the address of they're getting calls from a phone in a burned down house that's been disconnected for a year.
Yeah, that's completely crazy, man.
Begging for this
for help.
Right, this little old lady begging for help that had dementia.
That's nuts, man.
Yeah, so how much more corroboration can you get?
I know, man. Yeah, exactly. Got 911 actually said they have the recordings themselves of the calls, and then they got cops going there. The cop who's seen the lady dead, know that there was somebody there.
Yeah.
Heard her talk before when she was alive.
Yeah.
They know it's the same lady.
They know it's the same lady.
Yeah, like
all the 911, as soon as they heard her voice, they knew it was her.
Yeah.
Right? They'd been talking to her for years at this point.
Yeah. That's nuts, man.
And that's just
that's how you know there's more out there than what we're dealing with on our daily plane that we can see, touch, and feel. It's like there's so much more, man.
For sure.
Yeah, there's so much strangeness out there that we just don't like. People don't want to talk about it because it ain't something they can touch and feel. But there's definitely more than meets the eye. Yeah. Like that thing you shared with me there a little while ago about it was from Google Finance, but they had that chip.
Oh yeah, the quantum computing chip.
The quantum computing chip or whatever that
made
insane. An equation, figured out an equation that would have taken like a septillion years.
Yeah, 25 septillion years. Yeah. They said longer than the universe has actually been a thing. It should have taken longer than that for this chip to do this equation, and it did it in under 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Google scientists literally said, they actually said that this was proof that the quantum computing chip was borrowing computing power from the same chip in other dimensions.
Yeah. You hearing that? In other dimensions. That's like the Google scientists, they proved that there's different dimensions, basically, is what that is. That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible, man.
Yeah.
And people read that article, I was telling people about it, huh.
It doesn't even register.
It's like, do you understand what that's saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, what are we?
Yeah.
You know, there's just other Donnies out there just rolling around in these other dimensions and stuff too. I once seen a thing that was saying that like there's so many different dimensions that everything that could there's a world out there. It's called like the many worlds theory. There's a world out there where you are, where everybody is there. That you're one where I'm the king of England. One where I'm completely poor and I've killed people. One where I'm a pirate and a sailor, and one where I've been to space. There's like every possible thing that you could have been. There's a world out there where you are that.
Where it's happening.
Yeah, where it's happening. And it's like, this is just the world where Donnie is. He's in the back before the storm outdoors. And Nafy with the Good Man Initiative. Yeah. But in other worlds, we're something completely different. Yeah. And this is like, that's kind of corroboration of that.
Oh yeah.
That they're finding that. That's like, that's some really solid evidence that, yeah, there's something going on that in these other dimensions and stuff.
Do you remember the movie Jet Li, the One?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, I saw that movie, and then I saw not too long after that I saw something about I can't remember if it's the Boson-Higgs particle or the Boson-Higgs particle. It's one of those. Do you know about that?
Yeah, the Boson-Higgs. Yeah.
Boson-Higgs. Yeah. So basically, this part they call it the God particle. The God particle, right? And they theorized that if they were ever able to find this particle, that they would, and if they messed with it, they could actually destroy our universe. And there's actually some theories out there that I forget how many years ago, but that they did destroy our universe. Yeah. And we just merged with another one.
Which makes a lot of sense for how crazy thing is. And that's like that, what's that? There's a theory where you see things that you think have happened, and then you look them up and they haven't happened actually, right? Like the Monopoly guy, I always remember having a monocle. And he doesn't have a monocle.
Doesn't have a monocle.
You know, there's lots of weird stuff like that, little weird things.
I remember being a kid watching the news and watching the tank run over that guy in Tiananmen.
Yeah, I really do remember that.
I remember it. It was horrible. I was like, oh my God, they just killed that guy.
Yeah.
It didn't happen.
Yeah, that didn't happen apparently.
It didn't happen.
Yeah, the simple things, like it was always the Bernstein Bears. That's what it was. Yeah. It's not. It's the Bernstein Bears.
Yeah. Which makes no sense.
Yeah, but what? No, it's the Bernstein Bears.
No, I remember it totally differently.
Yeah, like there's all those little things, man. It just that's why I kind of do feel like, and like how crazy our world is now. Mm-hmm. It's like, what is happening? Like it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't seem like it's real because it's something completely different. That's like I feel like we went off on a tangent when we should have zigged. We zagged. Yeah,
yeah.
Pretty nuts. That was like. Talk about the different dimensions. You ever watch that show, The Skinwalker Ranch? The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch or whatever?
No.
You ever heard of Skinwalker Ranch?
No.
So yeah, dude, it's cool, dude. It's this place in Utah.
Yeah.
It's this ranch. It's like 500-acre ranch. There's been crazy paranormal stuff happening there for like decades. These people bought it back in the 80s. One of the craziest stories they have a few really crazy stories, but like one of them, they had a bunch of cattle, right? That was their thing. There was a lot of cattle mutilations going on and stuff around their property, and some of their cattle got mutilated. But they go into town, they had their cattle in a pen, a couple of big bulls and stuff, and some cows in a pen. And they go into town, they come back, their bulls, and all the cattle are gone. Mm-hmm. And they're like, what the hell? Like, where'd they go, right? They're searching around, can't find them. Somehow, all these cattle are in a camper. Like a fifth wheel. Like, they're just in there.
Crazy.
Yeah, and they have there's a massive bull in there. They got no idea. They're like, what the?
How to get in there?
Yeah, how? They're like, it wouldn't even fit.
Yeah.
They're like, how did this thing even get in there? Like, it doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
Right? Completely weird. Another time, when they first moved there, like one of their first days, they were moving some stuff into the house. They had their cattle out, and they see this massive black wolf out running around. At first, it looked like it was like super playful. Like, came like running right up to them. But the thing was an absolute giant.
Yeah.
Like, they describe it as like what would have been back in the day, they called like a dire wolf. Like, they're extinct, but just absolute giants. And it just started attacking one of their cows. So they started shooting this thing with this. He said he had like a 300 or some crazy rifle, right? They shot it like 7 times, point blank. Like walked up to it and shot it, and it wasn't dying. Yeah. And it ended up like eventually running away. They tracked it across their field and stuff, and it just disappeared into the river, and they never did find it. And so Bigelow was his billionaire. He purchased the ranch off these people after hearing about all this crazy, because they would say it's like that there was portals that would open up, Bigfoots would come out, wolves would come out. Like just complete craziness, right? So these Bigelows bought it. The U.S. government funded it the entire time. They had it for like a decade. Did all these, and they were studying it, trying to figure out what the hell was going on, right? So they never got to the bottom of it. Now these other people bought it. This other billionaire down in the States, and there's a show on History Channel called The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, and they've been running some tests on it, right? There's some crazy stuff that goes on, dude. It's nuts.
Crazy.
Like they ran a LiDAR. You know, we were talking about LiDAR before. It sees through the canopy of the trees, right? So they were running LiDAR on these drones. And they have this one, there's a spot in there called the triangle. It's basically just like in the middle of a field. People have used it as a turnaround. So there's like a triangle, looks like in the ground. But a lot of weird phenomenon happens around that triangle. Like, and there's always a weird, 160 hertz is a weird frequency that something's always coming in on.
Yeah.
Like it seems like something's trying to transmit, right? And they don't know what the hell it is. But there's like, so a couple things. One, they're shooting rockets up all the time to try to see, because that usually sparks activity. They'll shoot a rocket up and then a UFO will come out. They'll see a UFO, all of a sudden it'll appear in the sky. Yeah. Right? Well, UAPs is what they call them now. But they'll appear and then they'll just disappear. They still don't know what to make of them. But they're shooting a laser up one time, right? They're shooting a laser up. The laser just ends. It hits something, like it's stopping it. Like there's something in the sky. Crazy. It's totally weird, dude. Like, and it goes into the shape of a cross up in the air. And they're like, what the hell is that? Like, why is it stopping like that, right? So they do this LiDAR. The LiDAR, when they get the images back, dude, they look around. It's like they're in a force field, dude, all around the whole perimeter, going, and they turn it up, and it's like goes to a point in a cone around the top where they are at, and like that's right where the laser stopped. Yeah, was at the top of this thing, and so basically, like they're in a force field. They've launched rockets up there. There's this little cloud comes out of one of the rockets. You can see it explodes their rocket. It explodes their rocket that they're shooting up.
Crazy.
Yeah, like completely crazy. They have video of a UAP, and there's a big stone mesa that's beside there that they've like got some readings in. They think that there's some debris in there from something. Who knows? When they got pieces of metal out of it and they got the metal tested, it was like the kind of metal that we use on spacecraft. That's like, and it's super weird. The drill head wouldn't drill through it and stuff, right? It just flaked a little bit of it off. Yeah. So they're like trying to figure out how to get in there. But there was when they were flying planes around, they could see a UAP flying in. They would see it happening, flies into the mesa on one side, right through solid rock, comes out the other side of the mesa.
Weird.
Yeah, dude. And this is like all on video, right? Like and it's pretty cool to see. Like, and some people are like, for some reason, they're like, I can't get into it. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, that's like awesome, dude. That's like so cool to see. Yeah. The one, like the most convincing thing to me was the cone thing with the LiDAR. And then, so they've done a bunch of other tests, weird things too with the GPSs. The GPSs never work. They always act like when they look at the data that comes back from the GPS, they're inside the mountain shows, or they're way underground, they said, which it's impossible. Like they don't see that ever happen with data, or it's way up above. When they place all these things together, it's like there's a wormhole over top. It's like a big black void right in the middle where that triangle is. Yeah. And then underneath the ground, when they collect all their data from all the different GPSs, it doesn't go into this middle part. It's just a big void. So it's like a black space in the middle. And then up above at the top of the cone, it's the exact same thing. And it all lines up perfectly. Yeah. Like when you look at it, when they put all the stuff together in their computer program and they look at it, then it looks like a traversable wormhole. Yeah. Like that is what it looks like. And that's what they say too. They're like, I hate to say it, like, and that guy's like one of the main guys running it, Travis. He was part of the UAP like disclosure team or whatever, who, you know, the Tic Tac UFO incident. You probably heard about that one a while back. There and some pilots in the U.S. Navy. Oh yeah, yeah. He was part of that team who was like investigating that and stuff for the government. He didn't tell these guys, his team, that he was even part of it. So like all of a sudden they came back and they were kind of like, how can we trust you even? You're working with the government and stuff. Like, you didn't even tell us. But apparently it was like super top secret, and he was allowed to talk about it there afterwards because people came and testified about it in Congress. So like he's a real deal scientist, and he said he was 100% a skeptic going into this. He's like, I was expecting to debunk this immediately and go about my life, but he's like, this is like one of the most amazing places, has the most amazing phenomena that I've ever seen. And it's like, how do you turn away from it now?
I'm really gonna have to check this place. I'm gonna have to do some looking at it.
Dude, it's crazy, man. It's like one of the cooler places. Like, and I'm fascinated by it now. I've known about it for a long time, and always like, because I've always kind of been into the UFOs and stuff. And that was always, there was like a lore about Skinwalker Ranch. Yeah. Because that's what they say is like there's skinwalkers that are coming out of these portals and stuff, and like, so they haven't actually seen a portal, but they've had some crazy cattle mutilations while they're out there. They have cameras all over the ranch. Yeah. For some reason, the cameras never pick it up. It's like something happens, the camera will quit working. And it's like everything that they do, dude. The drill quit working like 20 times while they were out there. They've got a bunch of drones they were going to fly up. The drones started falling from the sky. Yeah. And the people are like, that's never happened ever. Like, the drones don't do that. Or they had like 1,000 drones last time. They had 1,000 drones out. Yeah. 200 of them only worked. And they're like, I don't know. It just never happens anyway. Like, we do shows all over the country. This never happens. Like,
you look at someplace like that, and you got to wonder, like, is that maybe someplace like the Bermuda Triangle?
Yeah.
You know, where those kind of things are happening as well, but that's out in the middle of the ocean.
That's exactly what I think, dude. I think there's parts on the planet that are like more susceptible to that kind of stuff, right? I think they're kind of portals. It's like, that makes it good. After seeing all the data put together, it's like, dang.
And you know, I just saw something. I didn't actually open the article, but I was shooting through Mozilla. When I open it up, it gives me news stories, right?
Yeah.
And there was one there about how scientists had just found evidence of wormholes within our galaxy that lead to other galaxies. So, like, this stuff's not far-fetched.
That's
like,
exactly, man.
Science has proven this stuff.
Yeah, and they're out there.
It's just that when we do come across something like this, the human thought is to pretend it doesn't exist.
Yeah, because what is that, like? You know, I think it's just because, like, it completely changes the whole perspective of what we are and how important we are.
Yeah.
You know, people want to think that we're super important and our existence is like, you know, it's everything. But when you look at that, it's like there's a lot more going on clearly than just us in this little thing. It's almost like we're in a simulation is kind of how I would almost say it. Like, you know, there's a different, you know, how there's like Sims, the Sims world, Sim City, Sims, all these different things. It's like, it's almost like what we are, I feel like, man, is a program.
There's also some scientists out there that have given scientific proof that we could be in a simulation.
Yeah.
Right?
That's almost like with all the stuff that goes on, and it's like with the different dimensions and stuff, like with UAPs and UFOs, the reason like why I think that they can just go and disappear is like maybe even Bigfoot, maybe they just appear. There's like a void. Somehow they just appear and they disappear. Maybe. It's like, that's why we don't ever have good footage of them. But like UAPs and stuff like that, like they'll just appear and they go down into the ocean with no splash. You know, people will see them. They'll go down to the ocean, no splash, come back up, no splash. And it's like, what's going on? Like, that's a physical thing they're going into. We know that water splashes. We know it would at the very least like drip off them. It would come off and there'd be some residue. Nothing. You know, there's USOs. You ever heard of those? Underwater submerged objects, unidentified submerged objects. So there's submarines and stuff that have captured on sonar objects moving at like 500 knots underwater, like 1,000 miles an hour. You know, and they're underwater, which is completely impossible, you know, and there's no wake. They'll come right by the sub, no wake. And it's like,
that's wild.
How is that? You know? And they just don't know how to explain it. So they just like, I think it's just human nature to kind of brush it off because like the unexplained is kind of scary to people. So they're like, I don't really want to look into it because I don't know if I want to know. You know, I want to continue thinking that we're the be all end all, but I don't think we are, man. I think that, and that's not to say that like God ain't real and all that too. He might have created everything that's going on out here, right? And we're just thinking of ourselves as, you know, the one, you know. But there's a lot of other things out there.
I think if you're to take the concept of God, an all-powerful being that has created the universe and that is in total control of the universe, to think that he created the entire universe and put life on just this planet is insane.
That's right, man.
And to think that a God that could create a universe couldn't keep track of a whole universe of planets is egotistical. Right?
Yeah, that's very similar just to like us, even like small scope, but it's like, if you think about it like a game, you know, we got like whatever, Far Cry or Call of Duty or whatever, right? And it's like, there's all those different NPCs, the non-player characters that are in the game doing their own thing, right? Or like Warcraft is a good one, where it's like a whole world, you know? Even that game, just all it takes is a person created it, you know, just a programmer created it. There's literally thousands, probably millions of people playing Warcraft, you know, and it's a whole world, the whole different countries, buildings, cities, everything, and people are keeping control of that. So it's like, it's not far-fetched to me that a more powerful being than us could do the exact same thing on a real deal scale, like with people who have a consciousness like us and think that, you know, this is it. And also, what's at the end of the universe? You know? probably another universe. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, we're a galaxy.
Yeah.
Or sorry, we're a solar system. Well, first we're a planet. We're on a planet
yeah.
in a solar system, a local solar system, that is in a galaxy, which, by the way, they think like has a roughly 50 billion Earth and like Mars like planets that could possibly harvest or have life.
Mm-hmm.
But we're in that galaxy, spinning around in a universe. And then what if you keep expanding? Like, maybe the universe is just like another solar system in a bigger universe. You know what I mean? Like,
you know, that's something I always wondered about that because, right? They say that the universe started, that there was nothing, right? The universe started from a Big Bang, right? And a lot of people will say that the Big Bang is proof that there's no God, but I disagree with that. I believe that God would have started it somewhere too, right? So you've got nothing at all. And then you've got this Big Bang, and then all of the universe flows out from this one explosion, right?
From nothing.
Where's all this space coming from?
Space and matter.
Right? Was there just like an empty void of space that never ends?
Yeah, exactly. Or didn't even exist?
Or did,
like,
right?
You know?
Did the space get created around the universes? If so, what's on the other side of it?
Exactly, man. Like, what's behind the veil?
What's behind the veil, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's certain things we're not meant to know, obviously.
Exactly.
Certain things that within our lifetime we're never, ever going to find out about, right? I kind of feel the same way when you look at different religions, right? I think that nobody on this earth is ever going to say for sure which is the right religion, right?
Yeah.
I believe that the religion that I follow is on the right track.
Yeah.
Right? Anything that's guided by humans, though, is fallible.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that in the end, we're not meant to know exact.
Yeah. What's after?
The exact, like, what there's going to be afterwards, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think we're meant to make a decision to be good.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
Or to be evil.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's completely up to you.
Yeah,
that's the player.
And that is part of what God has set out for us is the opportunity to make the choice, right?
Yeah.
That is the whole idea behind having, you know, maybe making it ambiguous so that people don't, because I've got a certain theory here. I'm branching off a little bit.
No, it's good. Branch off.
I've got a certain theory here that if you make your life choices based strictly on what a religion tells you, then you're not necessarily a good person. You're just doing what you're told. Mm-hmm. Right? Which doesn't make you a good person, because being a good person, like Jordan Peterson says, is having the ability to destroy and choosing not to.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you follow a religion and allow that religion to guide your whole life, and you only make the decisions that the religion tells you to, you'll end up making good decisions. And you'll end up doing good things, but not because you wanted to, because you were told to.
Yeah.
I think at some point there's got to be the choice there too, to go...
The free will.
The free will.
Yeah.
To go, do I do the right thing here?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Especially when you get into things, because there's a lot of cases you get into where the right thing isn't obvious.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, even like, look at certain times, things are more politically correct, or things are, you know, like Jesus, when he was around, they say like he was against what was going on with religion and stuff. Like, there was people, false prophet, they were always calling him and stuff like that, right? Or he would talk about God in certain ways, and people were like, that's heresy. Like, you can't talk about God that way. Like, you know, we have strict rules of what God is, and, you know, you can't say that kind of stuff. And he was like, no, like, this is what's going on. You know, and he wasn't afraid to speak his mind. That's free will too, you know? Right, yeah. He spoke his mind, and people were willing to follow him, you know, and it turned into Christianity today. But it's like, that's the thing, is that you have to, if those people had just done what they were told, Jesus would have got hucked off a cliff, you know, a long fucking time ago. Yeah. You know, like that, he never would have got to speak his truths to people. And because there was a time when he did claim he was the Messiah, and they were going to toss him off a cliff, and they just decided not to. Yeah. You know, the people who he told, like the priest, or like the highest ranking member of the organized days, I can't remember if it was a Jewish community or whoever it was then, but they brought him out to a cliff, and then he's like, no, you're not going to do this today. And the people were like, okay, we're not going to. Yeah. Yeah, like, you know.
Yeah.
So
I think to a lot of people when he was around and alive, it was pretty obvious what he was.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, the guy's he's turning water into wine.
Yeah, and the fish and stuff,
the fish.
Yeah.
I mean, he's curing people. Right?
Yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah, lepers.
I think at that time it was pretty obvious.
You know what? I heard a cool thing. Because people don't believe Jesus even existed, right? There's a lot of people out there who aren't sure if he existed. I heard this awesome thing where this guy's preaching at a college campus, and this guy's like, well, prove to me that Jesus was alive. Prove to me that he was. And he's like, well, prove to me I will. First, you prove to me that George Washington existed.
Yeah.
And then the guy's just like, what?
All we have is writings.
Didn't get it. He's like, well, yeah, we know. It's like, how do we know? Well, we got documentation. We got documentation in the Bible saying that Jesus was real. Tons of documentation. More and from people who were under torture would not recount their stories saying that he was God. He was the Son of God. He performed all these miracles and stuff. They got tortured, to death. Mm-hmm. And they never recounted because they knew that they were going to go to heaven if they, stuck to their guns. So, yeah, that was a pretty good point, though. It's like when somebody has that argument, like, well, prove to me he's real. What is, well, prove to me George Washington existed. Prove to me any historical figure existed. What is it? Mm-hmm. It's history. All we have is documentation and writing about him, Writings. So
I think we've got more documentation on Jesus than we do on anybody else that was alive.
Yeah, there's a lot, man. There's a ton of it. So, yeah, I think that's a good argument when somebody throws that down there because it's like,
oh, for sure.
Yeah, you can't technically prove anybody existed when all you have is writing. It's like, what are you supposed to do? So we had a drawing of George Washington. We got drawings of Jesus too. So I don't know. I think it's pretty for people who are not closed-minded. I think that it's pretty clear that he existed. Like for sure he existed. For sure. You know what I mean? Yeah. And people who don't believe that, they've just never looked into it, and they don't really want to see it for what it is, right? Mm-hmm. Just because they're probably scared.
Probably.
Because they've had a bad life or they've been acting in a not good way. But yeah, that's a weird one. But people, if you really think about it, how do we prove anybody ever existed, Nate?
That's a good question.
Like once they're gone, they're gone. How do you? It's all going to be folklore eventually, where you're going to have to make a choice. You're going to have to go on it by faith that this happened. Mm-hmm.
And we all know that throughout history, even what we know of people in recent history is not as true as we think it is, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody always the victors win the war.
To the victor goes the spoils. They write history.
They write history. Right? Yeah. But I think if you were to look at how, I think a big proof of the trueness of Jesus is that the victors didn't write about him saying bad things, right? Otherwise, we would have a whole bunch of history books right now that tells us how Jesus was
evil.
Was evil, right? All we have from a time period where Jesus was persecuted and the government was pushing against him, right? Mm-hmm. All we have out of his time is words of how kind and generous and loving he was.
Even the people who ended up killing him.
Yeah.
They were didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But it's like they were getting told to by other people, so they ended up just following along. That's what we were just kind of talking about too with free will. They could have chose not to.
Yep, for sure.
But they were following what they were told was the truth, so they did what they did.
And I think when it really comes down to that too, I think certain people have certain parts they're supposed to play, right? Mm-hmm. I think that there are a lot of people out there. I think if you look at the large majority of religious people, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but the large majority of religious people are kind of just following.
Yeah.
Right? I think you have a certain amount of people that are meant to do things.
Yeah, for people, right? Leaders or somebody people look up to or something like that.
Or they're meant to... I think some people are meant to follow, and some people are meant to be examples. Yeah. And some people are meant to be bad examples, unfortunately. Yeah. Right? That is... if you look through history, Judas, Cain, right? These are people that were meant to be in those roles, right?
Yeah.
And it's horrible, but it's for the greater good.
Yeah.
That they were, right? And I think if you look at people nowadays, there are certain people who are meant to follow and be the meek.
Yeah.
Right? but I think there are also people that are meant to take action on things. I like to think like I look at what I've done with the Good Man Initiative, and I've actually started to see that kind of as my calling, right? Yeah. I think that's what I'm meant to do. Yeah. I think I'm meant to help pull people up. Yeah. Right. To allow them to have the strength to build their lives better. Yeah. And I think I've come to the conclusion that's because I feel it, right? It's in my heart. I feel it now. Yeah. So I kind of feel like that's what I'm meant to do. How much of a success I'm meant to be is not up to me. That's up to somebody else, right? Yeah. But the fact that I can help anybody at all is a big thing.
Yeah, it is.
I also think that some people, like people who become priests because they want to help people, people who go out and help the homeless, things like that. I think those are things that they're meant to do. Yeah. Right. So I think everybody kind of has their part in religion. I think even the people who are against religion are playing their part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's always got to be the yin and the yang. There's the good and the evil, right? And because if there was no evil, you wouldn't even know what good is.
True story.
Yeah. So like, there's got to be that too, where you know what's wrong. You got to know what that's wrong stuff here. You got to make sure you're on the right path.
I think I kind of brought up the point I think I was trying to make with this at the beginning there, was that along with us all having our parts, we have to choose to take those parts on, right? Mm-hmm. So, and a lot of times when your part is something that requires action, you have to choose whether you want to do that action or not, because it's not always easy.
No.
Right? The things that you have to do to follow your path are not always going to be easy. And especially if you look at COVID, the people who we got to be careful here.
Yeah, I don't want to get cut off.
Yeah, YouTube doesn't like us talking about COVID very much, but I think we can talk about some of the circumstances that surrounded it, in that, some churches, every church was closed, and there were some churches who chose to fight to stay open. Yeah. And I think that is a decision they had to make, even though they took the risk of losing everything. Yeah. Right?
They were getting modern day persecuted for it.
Modern day persecuted, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, which is pretty crazy, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I think at the end of the day, some people are going to have some... Actually, I remember a sermon that one of the pastors gave at our church. I can't remember which pastor it was, but he was talking about how we as Christians may eventually have to face a time where we face going to jail because some of our beliefs don't agree with woke ideology. Yeah. Right? And that is 100% true. That is a choice that people are going to have to make when that comes. Do you renounce your religion, or do you go, no, this is what I believe? Yeah. And take the persecution. Yeah. The persecution is definitely the hard way.
Oh, for sure.
Right? And yeah. I think we have to decide what we're willing to give up. And I don't know, I know myself. I feel like I guess I've come to the conclusion that my morals are such that if I ever get to the point where I have to fight for my morals, I'll fight to the death. Yeah. Right? If I have to.
There's a good saying that I've heard before that's like, how about God too, where he says, so like if you pray to God to be courageous, do you think that he gives you courage or gives you opportunities to be courageous? Like if you pray for, if you pray for strength, do you think God gives you strength, or does he give you opportunities to gain strength? Mm-hmm. And I think that's really how life works. Like he puts things in front of you for you to just like you said, you to make the choice. Yeah. If you're praying for courage, give me the courage to do this. You're not just going to wake up one day and feel all courage, like you'll be able to go do anything. You're going to be scared, but you're going to push yourself to go do the thing that you've been scared to do. Yeah. And that's like what God does. He affects us indirectly like that, where he doesn't push it on you. He makes you make the choice to go and do it. And I think that that's what's going to happen when that comes to play. That's kind of a big thing I think is going to come down with him when it comes to like religion, like you're just saying, with the trans stuff. Because there's like a lot of stuff already where people in the UK are going to jail for hate speech, for posting stuff on YouTube like that boys are boys and girls are girls. Yeah. And they're going to jail. So it's like that's something that people are probably going to have to stand on pretty quick here.
Oh, do you remember that law? It's gotten passed. It was just recently. This is here in Canada for our American friends who don't realize just how bad it is to live in a dictatorship.
Yeah, you don't want to live in Canada.
We have a law in place in Canada where if they decide that you may possibly engage in hate speech or an act of hate, with violence, they can put you in jail.
Yeah, may possibly engage. Which basically means anybody who doesn't agree with them, they can just come and put you in jail.
Yeah.
And it can happen on a mass scale. And I think that's when you talk about dictatorships and stuff, it never happens usually in one huge sweep. It happens in small little steps,
slowly over time.
So that you barely, they're like imperceptible steps that you barely even notice are happening. Like we just got a bunch more guns banned again the other day, and like they call them assault weapons, right? Because they don't want to call them semi-auto, because then you're classifying it as a weapon. Like, okay, I'm only going to ban semi-autos, but saying that it's an assault weapon means that there is no definition of what an assault weapon is. So coming down the line, they're going to keep taking away these. They took away shotguns already. They're going to take away mom and pop's normal hunting rifles, which they already have taken away a bunch of those too. But it's like, that's how they do it. And it's all under the guise of safety. They're doing it for our own safety, right? Make sure you're scared so that we beg them to take our rights away. Like that's what happened with the C word. That's what happened. People were begging them to take their rights away.
Yeah, protect us.
Yeah, people who didn't get the old... that we weren't allowed to go out. People weren't allowed to do things. So it's like, you had to, if people were shaming people on the streets about it, like your own family members didn't want to be part of you. It's like, that's how quick it happened too. And it's like, people were begging the government to take people's rights away because for fear. And that's all it takes, man. You got to scare people and they're begging you to take their rights away. You don't have to do it when everything's good, saying, no, we're just going to take your guns away. No. What's going to happen is they're going to get you scared. Yeah. So the population says, please take our guns away. Yeah. And that's the scary thing, is that people will just jump on a bandwagon, false propaganda, and they'll be all over it. Every time a shooting, P.S. people in the States, every time a shooting happens down there in the States, we get our guns taken away.
Yeah, so stop. Please.
Stop it, please. Like, what's going on? Every time, man. It's unbelievable. Or every time around Christmas, there was a shooting back in the 70s at a university in Montreal. So ever since he started banning guns like 5 years ago, every Christmas that's come around, he's banned more guns under the guise of that. He brings up that shooting from 1970 something and says that, because this shooting happened here in Montreal, we need to take away more guns now. We're talking something that happened like 40 some years ago. Yeah. And he's taking away guns today. And then anytime there's a shooting in the States, he's like, well, here's another chance. And people are all get on board with it. It's like, people are unbelievably naive and they don't understand where this could lead. Like I've talked to lots of people about this. They're like, big deal. I took away some guns. It's like, you don't need, what do you need to be out there shooting? To be honest, semi-automatic rifles, and I don't care what it says in our statute, I think that we should all have the right to protect ourselves from our government. And I think that's what keeps governments from going tyrannical, is that having an armed populace to worry about. That it's like, it's not going to be an easy little takeover. When everybody's unarmed, there's no recourse for us to go back on. It's like, they have no fear of the population, which the government should. They should fear. I watched a lady. It was awesome, dude. I'd never seen this before. It must have been a little while ago. Trudeau was giving like one of his town hall speeches. This lady gets up and she just lets him have it. She's like, what we used to do with people like you, Trudeau? We used to hang you. Hang people like you for corruption. And everybody was just like, oh, shit. She went there. Like, we've all wanted to say it. But she went there, man. It was awesome. And then he didn't say nothing. Didn't have any rebuttal to it, right? But it was like, that is what happened. We've let this go way too long now. Or we're just letting them do whatever they want to us. We don't even care. We're so distracted about other things. Pay attention, people. Because it only leads from bad to worse. It ain't going to get any better. He's already taken so much from us. Taxes, inflation. We already would have stormed the House of Commons a long time ago back in the day. Like, we never would have let this shit fly. But now we're just letting them do whatever. How long are we going to go? How far is it going to go? Before the average person's like, hey, I've had enough, man. I have had enough.
And what's crazy too, I should also mention this, I think a lot of Americans are looking at our situation and wondering why we're not doing something about it. You got to understand, in America, I was thinking about this today. In America, you've got a whole system of checks and balances, right? On the power of the president. If at any time the president does something illegal, he can be impeached, right? And I believe through impeachment, if I'm not mistaken, he can actually be pulled out of office. Here in Canada, we have something like impeachment. Are you ready for this? They can be fined up to $500.
Yeah, and it has to be like passed through everybody in the House of Commons. And like right now, like they're trying to, with the Justin Trudeau, there's a whole bunch of corruption going on here right now in our government. right? He didn't even have to hand over files to the police. Like, there's literally no recourse. It's like you can do whatever you want as long as you're a politician. There is no recourse for the public. They don't have to tell you the truth ever. He's been in power now going on almost 10 years. He's never answered a direct question.
No.
You know, he's never handed over files of apparently corruption that's been going on for this whole time he's been in office. His own company's been getting money. There's so much of it, and they've been asking for it for years, and he's never handed a page of it over, and nothing's ever happened.
And that kind of impeachment, we call it an ethics violation.
Yeah, ethics violation.
That's kind of like our impeachment. He's, 3 times?
Yeah, he's been found guilty already 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And, yeah, big deal. He paid the few $100, and that's fine. He's still in power. And then we got this other piece of puke there, Singh, who just is backing him up. He keeps saying that he tore up the agreement there, and he's not on the Liberal side anymore, and that, you know, he needs to leave. And then when there's a chance for him to actually do the right thing and stand with Pierre Poilievre, he refuses to do it because he's a piece of scum and he wants to get his pension, and he's putting his pension above the whole population of Canada. And people should be absolutely ashamed of this guy. If I lived down in Ottawa, seriously, I would be down there on the steps every day when they're doing something, just shouting these guys down.
Yeah.
Like, you don't see enough of that. I did watch one the other day, which was crazy, dude. Trudeau was walking. I don't know where it was, man. But holy smolies, was there a lot of hate. It was crazy. I can't believe this guy could walk around in public and not be getting, attacked. Yeah. Because it was like, dude, there was so many people following him. There had to be 50 cops blocking people, right? And they're all just yelling at him, fuck you, Trudeau. One guy's like, you need to fucking die. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, dude. Like, people are losing it. But you don't see that in the news. The media still portrays him as pretty much a god. Did
you see that girl at the ski resort in BC there?
No.
She walks up to him and she says, hey, Mr. Trudeau, and she puts her hands up. He takes his glove off and he walks up. He's skiing, right? He takes his glove off, walks up to her, shakes her hand. She says, get the fuck out of BC.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good for you, lassie.
Yeah,
that's cool. What I love seeing. If I could see this guy on a daily basis, man, I'd be heckling the shit out of him.
100%.
And do you ever see that dude who's driving by Singh and he yells something at him like, you're a fucking traitor or whatever, fuck you. And he's like, come say it to my face. And the guy just drives away. I would have been like, Thornton Park. Right in your face. Okay, what are you going to do?
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah, please attack me so I can sue you and get you the hell out of here, for one. But it's like, you're a piece of shit, is what you are. I hate to say it. I actually don't hate to say it. I love to say it. Because you are.
He's 100% a piece of shit.
Yeah, he is.
We're talking about a guy. He's a Sikh. His own Sikh community, I believe, is pretty much falling apart. They're not. Yeah. They're not even. They want him out too.
Yeah. He's got no backbone. Man.
He's not allowed in his home country of India because of his connections to terrorist groups.
Yeah.
And he leads a federal party. The one that's propping up the Liberals.
Yeah, the Liberals here.
It's basically like the Liberals and the NDP together have enough votes to keep them in power. But if the NDP goes against them, then we can get what's called a non-confidence vote. But we can't get one right now, and that's our only way to get rid of this guy until our election. What, a year from now?
Yeah. No, I think it's in November of this coming up year.
So yeah, Singh has been propping him up because a month from now, Singh becomes available for a $2.3 million pension.
It's pathetic. So we just had his finance minister, Justin Trudeau's finance minister, Christy Freeland, who, by the way, sounds like a pterodactyl getting hit by a truck. Just like, her voice is just horrendous, man.
100%.
Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah. So I'm glad she's gone too, but it's like, she just stepped down a couple days before the budget was supposed to get released here. They said they were going to run a $40 billion deficit. $40 billion. And they were over it was $64 billion deficit they're into now. And he kicks her to the curb like a couple days beforehand because he's trying to throw it all at her feet like it was her problem, right? But she actually posted something in her shitty voice. I could just see it in her thing like, and Trudeau!
That's exactly what
she's terrible. But she said his spending policies are what made this happen, and she's trying to put on that she was, trying to fight up against it. But she's been his best buddy for the last 9 years, so she's entirely at fault as well.
I watched an interview with her where she said she was 100% okay with a 90% tax bracket.
Oh, yeah.
Right? She wants to tax the shit out of people.
Oh, man, she's a clown, man. The amount that we get taxed here in Canada is unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. And the amount of inflation, everything we got going on, it is very hard for a normal person just to be making it by. And it's creating a lot of animosity of just the regular folks here that have had enough of this shit, man. Because it's gotten to the point now where it's like, you can't even afford to go to the grocery store, you can't afford to do anything. And these people are so detached from reality that are in, you know, every day these politicians that are trying to talk to us. It's like you have no idea what the normal person is going through even.
Yeah.
That thing's driving around in a Maserati. You know, I love old Pierre Poilievre calls him the Maserati Marxist. You see that?
That's awesome.
Oh, man. But it's like, I want to put all the love for Pierre, and I really hope that when he does get back in power, because he's got to, man. It's the only thing that can happen here. And what's going to be a shame, though, is I honestly think it's going to be after his Singh gets his
I think the way it works now, the earliest they can get a non-confidence vote, I think they're trying for the end of January.
Yeah.
And Singh will have his pension by then.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's too late. We can't take his pension. Yeah. He's getting his pension. He's getting what he's getting what he allowed everybody to starve for.
Yeah. Exactly.
He's gonna get it. There's no stopping it.
Yeah. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
But once he does, if Pierre gets in power, I really hope that he gives back some of the rights to Canadians that have been taken from him, like the guns, because I've heard him and I've seen him on some hunting channels or hunting shows talking about hunting, but I've never seen him specifically say that he's going to give guns back. I see him say all the time that he wants Justin to quit taking mom and pop's hunting rifles, but I have never seen anything where he's ever said that he's going to give the guns back and make these guns legal again. So I'd really like him to come forward and say that. But I think that's a scary thing. The reason why he doesn't, what I'm hoping for, is why we haven't seen it, is because it's a scary platform to run on.
He's just trying to keep calm.
He's trying to keep people on both sides, right? He wants to still get those votes from people, you know, and he doesn't want to scare people. But hopefully, once he's in power, he'll be like, "Hey, this stuff was completely unacceptable. Let's give the rights back to the law-abiding Canadians." Because another thing too, ever since he started making these guns illegal, the gun crime has doubled. Yeah. It has doubled since he made. That's a fact. That is a cold hard fact.
Yeah.
And how do you come to terms with that? You know, it's like you made all these guns illegal and guns crime's gone up. So clearly it ain't working.
And none of the guns used in any of these crimes are from Canada.
Yeah.
They're all brought in from America.
Yeah. And they're illegal. You know, none of them are owned by, because we have quite the strict gun ownership laws here in Canada. We got our PAL that you have to go take. And then you have to, if you have like a certain semi-autos, like, well, you used to be able to get restricted for handguns. Handguns are all illegal now. Most semi-autos are illegal now. There's very few semi-autos that are legal now. They just made another 500 or something illegal here just a couple weeks ago. They made another 1,500 illegal last year. It's just, pretty soon we're not going to have any guns. And that's the scary thing for me. That's one of the scarier things for me, honestly, Nate. It's like, I see that coming. And I've been saying it for years and people just didn't believe me. But it's like, that is his goal. 100% is to de-arm our entire population.
100%.
And that's scary.
I mean, we're looking at it. The whole thing that's terrifying about Trudeau, especially with what's going on now, is the man is a dictator, right? And if you look there, we have very little checks and balances against being a dictator here in Canada. Basically, until an election is forced upon him, there's no recourse.
Yeah, we don't have any.
And even these guns that they're taking, he's not putting together laws saying, and everybody's voting on it and reading it and deciding which guns are going to go on there. He's got somebody making up a list for him, and he's putting it through on like an executive order.
Yeah.
Like it's not
people have no idea about guns.
Yeah.
That's the worst part. Like they literally have no idea.
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, there's some of you coffee drinkers out there may have heard of a company called Black Rifle Coffee Company. And if I'm not mistaken, they actually made a gun illegal that was not a gun, it was a name of a coffee from Black Rifle Coffee Company.
Yeah, because they're just that dumb.
Right? So
it's literally people who have no idea what they're doing or what they're talking about. They've all been liberal pussies. And they've never shot a gun, they're scared of guns, and they have no idea, but that's what they think, that all guns are bad. If you're a gun owner, oh my God, you're the problem. No, you're the problem. You are the problem. The people who are pussies like that, who want the government to have all the control in the world, you are the problem. You know, when we lose control as the people, our country's finished.
Yeah.
Our country is finished, and these people don't understand that. You know, they want. I don't understand it, but there is people out there who literally want the government to force them to do things. Like they want the government to tell them what to do, and they think that that's okay. Yeah. The government, like, no, we need more government. No, we do not need more government. We need what the States has got going on with Elon and Kennedy in there and Vivek to like trim the fat, man. Like we have way too many government organizations. I don't care about their pensions and all their crap, to be honest with you, because we've been getting screwed. The average Canadian day to day is completely getting screwed, and it's because of all this crap, man. And I'm sick of it, man. And I hope that you guys are all sick of it too, because it's getting to the point now where that's what it takes. Like, we all need to stand up and be like, this is enough, man. Yeah. Enough is enough.
Which I guess brings up the question, Donald Trump is throwing the offer out there for us to become the 51st, the 51st state.
Yeah, the governor of the 51st state, old Justin Trudeau.
I heard Kevin O'Leary, he's headed down to Mar-a-Lago to try to broker a deal for us, which he doesn't speak for us, so don't take that too seriously. He's grandstanding a little bit too.
Yeah.
But for all you Americans out there, if you're wondering what us Canadians think about that,
that wouldn't be the worst thing.
It wouldn't be the worst thing. I mean, there's a love-hate relation. Imagine for a second being given an opportunity to become a part of this. This is what I see to be the good end. To become a part of the freest, most patriotic country in the world. There's something that pulls at me when it comes to that. I'm patriotic. I love Canada. I see Americans as our brothers.
Yeah.
We live 20 minutes away from America where we live right now. We can pop down into Montana, which is a beautiful state. I love going down there.
Yeah.
You cross the border, you see guys with guns on their hips. I'm like, fuck, I want some of that.
I love it.
I want that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's where we don't have that, man. That's the thing. That's why I love what you say in the patriotic, too. I feel like we can't be patriotic here. Canada says Trudeau says that Canada has no identity. That we're nothing, basically. And it's like, yeah, we are, man. Like, we're strong Canadians, man. Like, caring, but we're damn strong too, and we care about like our core values and beliefs and stuff too. And he's just shitting all over him, man, and he has been forever. Him even saying that was like, dude, you got to go. How can the sitting prime minister say something like that?
I remember Canada's 150th. We have our every year, obviously, the birthday of our country. We didn't split from England quite the same way you Americans did. We ended it friendly. They do still have a little bit of they're still involved in some stuff. The king, I guess the king now, he's on our border or whatever. And we still have a governor general that reports to England. So there's still some interaction, but I don't believe they have any actual control over us anymore. Whereas you Americans obviously split from them, in about the bloodiest way possible.
Yeah, through quite the battle.
You split from them when they wanted to keep you, and then they got to the point where England actually got rid of all of their colonies around the world, right? Because it was too much.
Yeah.
It's too much for that little country to take care of. So they basically gave freedom to everybody, and that's how we got ours. So we didn't fight for ours. But we, on our 150th birthday or whatever, the government of Canada actually released a statement telling us that we should try not to raise Canadian flags because it angered the new immigrants to our country. I mean, so
it's disgusting.
I mean, this guy walks around with a shirt that says "Global Citizen." He was just on some Global Citizens thing that they had where they got a bunch of leaders that are into this kind of stuff.
Yeah, he wants a new world order.
He loves the World Health Organization, World Economic Forum. He's all for. He wants Canada to. He's trying to make himself the leader that brings Canada and global citizenship together. Globalism. Yeah. So he's his head's a little bit too big for him, I think.
Oh God, way too big because he's such an idiot too. It's hilarious when you go watch him at the G7 or whatever at the summits, man. One of my favorite videos is when he goes and sits down and he's kind of looking around and
nobody's talking.
The president's Xing from China or whatever is on his right, and he's looking over and that guy's talking with his aide and he's completely ignoring him. And he looks over, and I think there was the guy from Poland or something was on his left. Yeah. He taps him on the shoulder and goes to go shake his hand. And the guy looks over, clearly makes eye contact with him, looks back at the other dude and just starts shaking his hand and stuff. And then you can see Trudeau taps him again and the guy just looks over at him and he's just keeps going back and talking to the other dude. Completely ignores him because he's such a stooge. He's an embarrassment. And everybody knows you don't want to be seen talking to Justin Trudeau. Yeah. Because you're a complete loser if you're talking to Justin Trudeau. Mm-hmm. He is the biggest goober at the party, and everybody can tell it. Everybody can see it, that he's a fake human being. And I think that's one of the worst things. You can tell he's fake. Everything he says. Just recently when he came out, his rebuttal to Trump calling him when he went down to Mar-a-Lago there and he made that joke about him being, maybe if they impose the tariffs, then he's like, oh, well, maybe we'll just make you the 51st state or whatever. He came back here and gave a speech saying, basically crying, saying, things down south didn't go the way they were supposed to be going. This is the second time that they've given up on a woman president. Oh. You always have a feminist in me, he says. Can you be any more weak, man? Like, you're such and just a phony, man. He's such a phony.
And just the way he threw that statement, he called down every American.
Yeah, like, you idiot. You idiot. You're such a no-backbone piece of shit in the first place that nobody's scared of you. Nobody believes that you're any danger to them in any way whatsoever, besides the fact that you might have to go pee in the ladies' room. Yeah. Like, you're a complete joke. And then you're going to say that to Trump? Like, what do you think, Trump? I bet you he was just, like, laughing, like, okay, bud. Yeah, let's see how that good move.
Oh, and he did that, like, a few days before he walked up to his female finance minister and said, hey, and deputy prime minister, and said, hey, we're going to replace you with this other guy.
Yeah. Hilarious, man. Yeah. You always got a feminist in me, except for when I want to skid her or the first indigenous
justice
minister and stuff.
Because she wouldn't do what he wanted.
Yeah, she wouldn't follow along, and he's such a phony human being, man. And people who can't see that, I'm like, are you blind? Do you literally not have any sense of what people... You can't read people at all? The guy is a total fraud. He's never answered a question, man. To me, politicians, this is the bullshit part in every country, man. There needs to be yes or no answers. Every time they're up there, it should be they're under oath. Mm-hmm. No matter what they're saying. Yeah. You cannot lie. If you get caught in a lie, you're fucking done. Yeah. It has to be that shit. It has to be, man. Mm-hmm. You cannot have it where you never have to answer. He gets asked direct questions all the time when they're in Parliament, and all he does every time is, well, the member opposite is saying this, we're here working hard for Canadians. It's like, that's not what I asked you, man. Yeah. I asked you to answer this specifically, what's the budget going to be, for example? Or what is this? What is that? He never answers it. He never has. Yeah. You can go back and look through the last 9 years. He has never answered a question ever. Literally, it never has. Not fucking one. And it's disgusting. And we just let this shit slide. Mm-hmm. I watched Pierre. He was getting an interview. And some people were asking him questions. And just for a shock and awe, he was doing the yes or no's. And they were like, yes. He asked them a question like, are your members for the World Economic Forum? Yeah. That was one of them. He's like, are you going to let your members go to the World Economic Forum and be part of it? It's like, no. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be, no. They're just like, they couldn't believe it. They actually started laughing. They're like, oh, that's it? Like, yeah, no, I'm not going to. Yeah. Next question. Yeah, just kept going. Gave a straight answer, believe it or not.
I just watched one where a reporter asked him, they said, are you still planning on defunding the CBC? And he said, yes.
Yeah.
And they said, how fast do you plan on making that happen? He's like, very fast. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah.
Because he had been given like $750 million, and then he gave him some more money later. That's why he has such favorable stuff here in the news, and nobody talks... direct to him, and nobody actually reports on the truth because they've all been paid off by him, basically. And he says that himself one time. He gave a statement one time and laughed about it, which made me want to drive down to Ottawa and spit in his face. But he was like, why the news never gives people say that there's no good reason why the news never always reports good news on me. It doesn't say anything bad. He's like, I'll tell you right now, there's 750 million reasons why.
Yeah, it was
laughed about it.
That was like some press dinner.
Some press dinner. He laughed about it. Like, he's a piece of scum, man. I'm done with him, dude. I cannot believe this guy's even here, and I can't stand that there's people who are siding with this guy. Like, you guys do not care about Canada at all. And I was reading, I couldn't believe it. They must be bots. But the other day on Facebook, he posted something, and I was looking at it, and I could not believe, I read through probably the first 100 comments, and they were all like, you're the best prime minister ever. Yeah. They were all love, and I was like, these are fake.
They've got to be.
Because any other thing that's not posted on him, it's an article that that he's involved in. Mm-hmm. It can even be a pro article, but every comment on there is hate. Yeah. Everyone. But on his personal Facebook page, everything is love. You're the best prime minister ever. We're all voting for you again. I'll vote for you every time. It's like, who are these people? Probably not even Canadians. Yeah. Or they're brand new to Canada and they're liking the free immigration laws and shit. I've heard so much craziness that these people coming over here get so many more benefits than actual Canadians who have lived here forever and stuff.
I heard we kicked soldiers out of barracks so
they can live there.
So that they can live there. Yeah. Where the soldiers stay.
I know, dude. And I've heard that we put them up in hotels and stuff.
Hotels, yeah.
We've it's disgusting, man. I don't know what the hell to say. He's throwing actual, like, born and bred Canadians under the bus, and I think that's what he wants, though, right? Because he knows that that's how he's staying in power. Yeah. Similar to what was going on down in the States, how they were flying all those people in from like Venezuela and stuff to bypass the border. They were flying them in to like all the blue area or all the red states that like Pennsylvania and other places. They were trying to swing the vote, saying that you guys can fly down there, and there's that voter app. There was that app that they were signing into or some shit to get them over. I don't know. There was a lot of weirdness going on. Yeah. But they said that's like a known thing, that these people are 100% are getting flowing down here from other countries into the States, into red states specifically. So on the guarantee that they're going to vote Democrat. It's like, I kind of feel like that's what's going on here, man. That they're, maybe it's not an actual quote unquote deal where it's all written down, you know what I mean? But it's like, why wouldn't they want to have those people in power? They can get more of their friends to come over, more other people. And then they come over here. I wouldn't even care if they really came over and they're like, oh my God, thank you, Canada. Like, Canada is so amazing. Yeah. We need to be here in Canada. I want to be Canadian. They come over here and then shit on Canada. They don't want to be Canadian. They want to bring over their own laws, all their own stuff. They get offended by our flag. Fuck off. You guys can go back to where you came from, and we'll continue to live our way here. The reason why Canada is good is because it ain't the shithole you came from.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, the same thing with the States. People come and they hate on the States. Well, there's plenty of shitholes you can go back to. Mm-hmm. You obviously came over here because your place sucked. That's why you came over here. Mm-hmm. If you want to make this place like your place, just save yourself a few decades and go back to your shitty place. Mm-hmm. Because we don't need to turn this place bad. Because there's good places like Canada, or there's bad places like the place you came from.
Yeah.
That are super overpopulated, dirty, got no rules for women and stuff, no rights for women and stuff, in a lot of like the Middle East or the other places, man. They're just disgusting and dirty because they're overpopulated. That's your guys' problem, man. Don't turn that into our problem over here. Like, we're completely fine with having people come here. All I want is them to be Canadian. Them to be like proud to be Canadian like we are. Don't come over here and hate on Canada, because that is bullshit. That infuriates me like nothing else.
I hear you 100%. Did I ever tell you a story about when me and Patricia bought her car?
I don't think so.
We went to Calgary, so I did a bunch of research and I found this vehicle in Calgary. It was a Nissan Rogue, and so I got a hold of this guy, and the guy, he says, yeah, I own a dealership, and I wanted to come by on a weekend. He said, we're closed on the weekends, but I'll bring the car to my house, and you can just meet me at my house, and we can do up any paperwork there. You can take it for a drive and decide if you want it. So we go down there and we go to meet this guy, super nice guy, right? He's living in actually a really nice house in Calgary. And he's got a bunch of cars there that he's doing whatever with. But he's got this car ready for us. We go for a test drive, and it turns out he's from, I think he was from Iraq, right? And he came here, and he was a Muslim.
Yeah.
And he came here, and we were talking. I asked him a little bit what he thought about our country, and he said, I love this country. He said, I came from squalor.
Yeah.
And I came here and I work hard and I'm doing good for myself and doing good for my family. And I absolutely love Canada.
I love that.
And I said, well, that's really good to hear. It's nice to see somebody come into our country and do well and work hard and get ahead.
Yeah.
And he said, but it really bothers me. I see a lot of the other people that are coming from these countries, and they come here and they want to tear Canada down.
Yeah, dude.
He said, it was horrible where I came from, and I am super happy to not be there anymore.
Yeah.
Right? But I see these people come here and they act like they deserve everything. Like Canada should just give them everything.
Yeah, dude.
And he said, and that's not how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to work hard and get yourself ahead.
Yeah.
And these people who come here and they treat Canada and like they're raping Canada. He says, I can see why people don't like them.
Yeah.
I understand.
I like guys like him.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like he actually cared about Canada itself. Like, he didn't want to be. This is another thing that I like when you come to Canada, same within the States. Like, I don't like it when you call them like an English American or an African American or an Indian American or a Chinese American. It's the same thing as Canada. Chinese Canadian, Indian Canadian. No, you're Canadian now.
Yeah.
Because you moved here. Because you left there. Like, you can't be. I hate it when they put that first.
Yeah.
You're a Canadian second. You're an American second, even though you live here. You moved here to take all the rights and all the beautiful things that we have to offer. but we're secondary to you, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't actually care about our fundamentals and what we stand for. We're not allowed to say Merry Christmas. Guess what? Fucking Merry Christmas, guys.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas to everybody. Because I cannot stand that, where they don't even say that. Trudeau will not say Merry Christmas, He's a happy holidays guy.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Tuck your sack back and get the fuck out of here, Trudeau. I can't stand it, man. You can't say Merry Christmas? Like, I don't care. You guys came here. This is where we celebrate Christmas.
Yeah.
If I went over to the Middle East right now, and I went into Libya, for instance, or something like that, if they didn't want me saying fucking Merry Christmas, I'd be like, sounds about right.
Yeah, it's your country.
Yeah, your country. You don't celebrate Christmas like we do. I guess I'm not going to go say Merry. Yeah, I'm not going to go say Merry Christmas to you.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to offend you in your own country.
Yeah.
That's just normal behavior. I feel like common courtesy. I wouldn't do it if I moved somewhere else where like they don't celebrate that and they're against it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go there preaching it.
No.
Because I have my own place that loves it and does. And if I want to preach that, I'll go back to my place.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go over there and try to act like I'm better than you or you need to change your laws to fit me.
Mm-hmm.
No. It's completely insane. And it's
no matter how fucked up your country is, it's your country.
Yeah.
And if you have I remember this story, speaking of this, it's a crazy story. I don't know if I should tell it.
Well, we talked about some pretty crazy shit last time, Nate.
This girl, I think she was from England. She decided that she was going to prove that there was no difference between all the countries, and she was going to
pedal bike across. Is that the one you're talking about?
I think she hitchhiked.
Oh, okay.
Hitchhiked across Syria, I think.
Yeah.
And I think she was gone within a day.
Yeah.
She disappeared.
Yeah. I watched one just very similar the other day where somebody was posting an article. They were like making light of it like it was hilarious.
Yeah.
But it's a tragic story. But similar thing. A guy, a husband and a wife wanted to go through Turkey to prove through that there was no humanity was kind.
Yeah.
That was their thing, right? Humanity is kind. They got killed in a couple of days.
Yeah.
And they're pedal biking through, got killed.
Humanity is not that kind.
There is a lot of shitty people out there, guys, and that's what we're trying to say. Is like you can choose to go back there and live there right now. If you come from there and here, and you're trying to turn Canada into that, no, you could go back there, and we need to stand strong as Canadians.
We do,
and send those fucking people back.
Yeah.
Watching those people those Palestinians burn the Canadian flag.
Unbelievable.
That was unbelievable, man. Saying death to Canada in Toronto and all over the country, really. They're chanting at death to Canada, and cops are just standing there. Everybody's chanting, standing there. These are people who we're letting them into our country and then just letting them burn our flag, say death to Canada for what? Multiculturalism? Who gives a shit?
Deport every single one.
Deport all these people back, man. They're obviously no good for Canada. If they hate Canada, they're no good for Canada. Like, that's pretty straightforward, I think. Why do you need to have them here? Just like, by the way, too, how they talk about like separation and shit. You could definitely send them away. You can send out entire families. If that's what it takes, you know what I mean? Like, what are you going to say? Like at the border, they always talk about that in the States. Like how there's Trump separating families and stuff. When you get arrested for a DUI and you have your kids in the car, do you think your kid's going to jail with you? Nah, they're separating you. Because that's what happens when you break a law.
Break a law.
You need to be held accountable. In Canada, it's free for all right now. They're not holding anybody accountable for anything. You can do whatever you want, break into stores, break into people's houses, kill people, There's very little getting done about it.
Was it I can't remember where, but the police were telling people to leave their keys right by their doors so that if people break into their house, they might just take their car.
And that guy cut off that dude's head in the Greyhound like 10, 15 years ago, right? He was out in like 5 years.
Yeah.
Out of jail. They said that he cut off the dude's head, was eating his ears and stuff in front of people. With a pocket knife. The guy didn't do anything. He's just sitting there listening to music. Cut off his head. And he was eating part of his face and stuff. That guy was out of jail in like 5 years and they talk about him all the time now. He's a great citizen. It's like, you guys are fucking insane. How do you think that guy's family feels? That poor guy was taking a bus to go visit some friends, gets his head cut off, and this guy's out in a few years like it's no big deal. That stuff happens way, way too often here. We paid that Omar, what was his name there?
Oh, yeah, I can't remember.
There was a terrorist. Paid him $10 million.
$10 million.
And he owns like part of West Edmonton Mall now or something. Yeah, or owns some big mall in Edmonton.
Mall in Calgary, I think.
Yeah, maybe it's in Calgary. Yeah, he owns some mall now. He's a gazillionaire now. He's making millions, and we started that for what? Why? The guys should have been in jail, or deported.
Well, he he was in jail in, what's that?
Guantanamo Bay.
Guantanamo Bay. He was in jail in Guantanamo Bay, and the reason that he was in jail in Guantanamo Bay was because he killed American soldiers. Like, irrefutable. He did it.
Yeah.
Right? They had him in jail there. When they closed Guantanamo Bay, they released a bunch of prisoners just basically into the wild.
Yeah.
And Canada brought him back, and our Trudeau had just taken power, right? So Trudeau decided that he was going to give this guy, he made this decision without even telling anybody. The news, when the news broke, it was already done.
Yeah.
He had the money already. They gave this guy $10 million because he had Canadian citizenship, and Canada didn't step in to try to get him out of Guantanamo Bay. And the reason being because of the Prime Minister at the time probably looked at him and said, yeah, that guy deserves to be there.
Yeah, you're a piece of shit. Like, you're a terrible human being.
So they gave this guy $10 million. I think it was within a month of Trudeau telling the veterans that he was going to keep fighting them in court on cases like where they were looking for health issues, like getting legs when they had legs cut off, getting the government to pay for that. He was going to keep fighting them because he said that they were asking for more than they could give, but then they give a terrorist $10 million who killed American soldiers.
That's how ass backwards we are here. And we got people fighting to keep that guy in power right now. Like that Singh, man. He's, like Nate said, he can't even go back to his own country because he has close ties with terrorist organizations and they don't want him back there.
I just watched a video of him sitting at a group of Sikhs. They didn't say where it was, but he's sitting beside the guy who's talking at the podium, and the guy at the podium is talking about how violence is necessary for their cause to move forward.
Yeah. And
I watched, I haven't been able to find this after that, but I watched, and he got interviewed about it, and they asked him, do you still agree with this? Would you still have stood there if you knew that's what he was going to say? And he said, oh yes, I do agree with this.
Yeah, I see.
He said, I would still stand there.
Yeah. What we need to be ready for, though, is like when that shit comes to Canada, we got to meet violence with violence. We got to meet violence with action, man. We can't just be passive and be like, let this happen in our country, man. Like, I don't want to be starting a civil war over it because that's like, but it seems like that's a possibility because people are like, it's getting super heated. And in the States too, man, super heated about shit, but it's like, people need to make a stance at some point. And like, what's the limit? What are you going to take? How much are we going to let it go down? Are we going to let them take over cities? Where we're not like, you're not even allowed to do anything. Let's not, because they'd want to impose like an Islamic law and stuff, right?
Was it, I think
Sharia law?
Trump just came out and said that, Texas just passed a law saying that Sharia law could never be instituted in Texas.
Beautiful.
To be a part of their constitution.
We need that here because it's like, that's what they want. I watched some videos where people are talking openly about it in the streets, like in Canada here, saying like, guess what? We breed more than you. We have way more kids than you. What you think isn't going to matter in 30 years. We're just going to have more people here than you. Yeah. You're going to be the minorities, And we're going to impose Sharia law and it's just going to happen. You're not going to have a say. And it was like just completely fine. They were talking about it. People were just like acting like it was completely normal. And it's like, what are you talking about? That's what your guys' plan is? Is this like something that they talked about that they're all in cahoots about to come over here to change this, to make it the way it is back there? I don't know. But it's like, just go back there. You have Sharia law over there. Seems to be working out real well for you guys. Seems like you got a real sweet little paradise going on for you over there.
I seem to think it's going to work better over here than
I don't understand.
It's like communism. It's never worked in any country, but everybody's like, it's going to work this time.
Yeah, it's going to work this time. I don't know, man. It's just so super frustrating, man, because I used to be a super proud Canadian, and I'm kind of embarrassed to be a Canadian lately. That like this is what our country's coming to. That everybody's a pussy. Like we were talking about before. I heard it the first time I ever heard it was Cavino and Rich on this old Sirius show, but they were talking about the pussification of America. Yeah. And now it's a pussification of Canada and really the pussification of the planet that I think we're dealing with, man. That's like what they're trying to do. Just pacify everybody so that there's no fight left in anybody, man.
I think we're coming to a really interesting era in our time, though.
It's a tipping point.
It's a tipping point, right? I think we might be going back the other way.
I hope so, man.
I think that a lot of the people who did have strength, whenever you think of like truly strong people, a lot of people have that idea of the strong silent type. Mm-hmm. And I think the strong silent people are getting to the point where they realize they can't be silent anymore. Yeah. I mean, when you see the immorality that's going on, you see that New York, that girl who got burned in the New York subway?
Recently?
Just recently, like within the last couple of days.
No.
It's insane, dude. This guy, the guy who did it was kicked out of America. I think it was from Venezuela. Don't quote me on that part. But he was kicked out of America in 2018. He came back. He was living in a group home for people with substance abuse. He was on the New York subway. This girl was sleeping on the subway. And he walked up to her with a lighter.
No way.
Set her on fire.
Jesus Christ, man.
She stands up and she goes, I think she stands up and she's standing against the wall, and he grabs like a t-shirt and he starts fanning the flames.
No way.
Now people are walking past. Full stop.
Not doing anything?
Not doing anything.
Oh my God.
Police officers show up. They're walking past her while she's burning, doing nothing.
That is disgusting, man. Shame on all of you guys.
Right?
Man.
I think the police commissioner of New York, he saw the video and he said that those officers will no longer have a job. Those officers.
Yeah, they can't, dude.
They're gone.
That's like the second time I've seen that in the New York subways. It was a while ago, a few years ago, where somebody was getting stabbed.
Yeah.
And there was police officers with guns there, and they did nothing about it because they said that they were fearing for their lives.
Yeah.
Then you shouldn't be cops. I'm sorry to say. That's why you have guns.
Right.
And at the same time, it's like there's such a polarity in to be a cop. It's like I think cops are scared to do anything. Mm-hmm. They don't want to attack that guy. They're going to get called racist and lose their job too. You know, if they shoot that guy. It's like, but that's the job you took on, man, is to protect people, protect and serve. If you truly cared about what you vowed to do, you would have shot both those people. You would not have let them do what they were going to do, and then let the chips fall where they may. But it's like if you're in the right, morally right, you should be fine. But that's not always the case, unfortunately. You do see cops that are doing the right thing. That just because something's politically heated at the time, they get thrown under the bus too, right? Yeah. So that could have been called racial. Who the fuck knows? But I think that's a pretty clear statement. Somebody's literally fanning the flames on somebody. Yeah. That's unbelievable, man.
It's crazy. You know, I am terrified that we're allowing ourselves to live in a world where nobody would have stood up and done anything.
Yeah, dude. Right? Too common.
I look at myself. I think of myself in that situation. Like, this is one of those things we were talking about earlier, where sometimes you have to make a decision on what you're going to do and what risk you're going to put yourself into. And I think myself, if I saw somebody burning to death, set on fire by somebody, my safety's going to go out the window.
Instinct alone would be like, oh my God, I'd run over there. If this guy was right there, body slam, and then taking her down like putting her out. But it's like, immediately, it's just instinct would take over, being like, I need to do something. Yeah. You know, not being like, pull up my phone.
And nobody did.
That's terrifying that people are just letting that happen. The cops,
she burned to death.
That is horrible, man. Horrifying. Oh my God, dude.
Yeah.
What a horrible way to go.
I won't put the video up here because they'll make it so you can't see our podcast.
Yeah, obviously it'd be graphic and horrible.
Do a search on New York fire.
Yeah, in the
subway, and it'll come up. It's there. If for those of you who haven't seen it, it's absolutely horrifying.
Yeah, that's brutal, dude.
I can't see in a station with that, with how many people ride the subway in New York. How could somebody, not one person, have stood up to do something about that?
Yeah, man, that's pretty crazy. There would have been hundreds and hundreds of people walking by, and within sight of that, and doing nothing. Those people are scum. Yeah. Dude, I'm sorry to say it, man. You couldn't even put 2 seconds of your life away. And how many of them, I bet you, pulled up their phones to film it? It's even worse.
There's film of it, so obviously somebody did.
Yeah, I guarantee you a bunch of people did, man. I guaranteed a bunch of people did.
The cops walking past her, she's still standing at that point.
So yeah, they could have saved her.
They could have saved her. Yeah, it's just...
And what happened with the guy? Do you know?
Well, they arrested him.
Afterwards?
Yeah. They did arrest him, but not at that station.
No.
He didn't get taken. He should have been taken down at that station. There should have been somebody. He should have had his freaking head beat in.
Yeah, smashed dead right there.
Lying there, but when the cops show up, that bloody guy on the ground, he's the one who did this.
He's
that's what should have happened.
Jesus, man. That's
right, horrible. But they caught him at another station. I guess some other kids recognized it because it was already on the news.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, that's the guy.
They called
the cops, and the cops came and got him. And he says that he was so drunk he doesn't remember doing it.
He'll probably get off. Get 6 months.
Yeah.
The justice system down there ain't too strong either nowadays, man. It's
especially
like,
not in New York. New York's a horrible.
Oh, it is, man. And same, it's like California.
Yeah. And it's a what do you call it? What are those cities where they allow immigrants to come?
Oh, it's a
what are they called?
Shoot. Oh, gonna have to Google that one here. It'll come to me in a second, but I had it for a sec.
Yeah.
Oh shit, Nathan, now you got me just straggling it.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's one of those cities where they just allow immigrants to come in without.
They're busting them there, whatever.
Yeah.
Like Salvation City, but it's not that. Yeah. It's like something like that. But damn it.
It's right there.
Yeah.
It's right there.
But yeah, it's unfortunate that stuff's going on, man.
Yeah.
And that's just the morals of people are gone, dude. And in cities especially. Cities are horrible places, man. Because there's no respect for your fellow man. Mm-hmm. It's like that shit wouldn't happen. I feel like, this is a very generalization, but it's like, I feel like in a smaller community, people would not be letting that slide.
No.
You know? No. You did that here in our town, man, people would be attacking you. Yeah. If they saw that, it'd be all hands on deck, I hope.
Yeah.
You know? But there's just such a dissociation. It's like, we were talking before, I think I mentioned in another podcast about how, you know, it's like the people who aren't in your direct line of friends and family are like NPCs. They're like non-player characters in a video game that you just don't really interact with. You don't even consider them real people. You know what I mean? They're just like a person who's at the armor shop. Every time you go into the armor shop, that guy's there to sell armor. Whether you're there at 2 a.m, you're playing your game at nighttime, the game's at nighttime, in the middle of the day. That guy's just always there. His character is there all the time. And it's like, you don't consider him a real person or anything else. This is what he is. So it's like, I think people, when they see something like that going on in New York, where there's tens of millions of people that live there, they're just like, whatever, who cares? Non-player characters getting killed again. Going to Starbucks, gotta go get my Frappuccino. Yeah. Gotta go to Wall Street, hit the old Wall Street.
You know what's really funny about that? I have this theory that you have if you treat your life as a story, right? You can either be the hero of the story. I always say this: if ideally you'd like to be the hero of your story, but what are you really, right? Are you the hero of your story? Are you the villain of your story? Or the most sad thing you can be, are you a background character?
Yeah, no kidding. That's a good point.
Somebody who's just passing through.
Yeah, exactly. Doing nothing, affecting nothing. Yeah, just passing through life, man. That's a good way to look at it.
And it's sad to me how many people out there treat themselves like they're that.
They are. Especially now with social media. Yeah. Everybody's a background character to their own story. It seems like, man, they're just focused on other people.
Yeah.
You know? And it's that makes life that much worse, I think, man. You're not considering that that's a human being. These people are human beings that you're passing by. Yeah. And, you know, you guys are scum for not stepping up and doing something to try to help people when needed. Mm-hmm. You know? There's the odd people I see on YouTube and stuff that look like they're just doing it for clout, too. Yeah. You know, they'll go out and give a homeless man $100 or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Here's $100, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm a good guy, you know. But who knows what I hope that they're, in their off time, they're actually helping people, too. Yeah. But what I like to do, and this is just in my general everyday life, is like, I like to be kind to people. Yeah. I like to help people every time I see people. Every day. I say please and thank you to people opening up the doors all the time for me. And I say ma'am and sir, thank you ma'am, thank you sir. You know, when I'm at a store, if I accidentally bump into somebody or almost do, sorry sir, sorry ma'am. You know, I'm always trying to be polite and be kind to people because that's just the way a person should live their life. You don't need to be bumping into people acting like a dick. You know, there's seeing people in the streets, how they act compared to how people that are rural act. There's like they're totally different, man. It's like, I think we just get so disassociated when you're in the city about people because you're just like, you're sick of seeing people. There's so many people everywhere. It's like an anthill crawling on each other. You're like, fuck these people. Like, I don't care about these people.
I remember I was in Calgary. I was going to give blood, and the place where I was giving blood is kind of downtown Calgary, and it's this little mall kind of thing down by the river.
Yeah.
And so I pull up there, and when I pulled up to go give blood, I parked my truck across the street. There was some guy had like a tarp up with a bike on the side of it, and looked like there were a couple legs sticking out. So I'm like, okay, there's a couple homeless people sleeping there.
Yeah.
I go give blood. I come back, and when I come back, there's this guy standing there, and he's yelling at these 2 kids under this tarp, right? So I'm looking at him like I'm trying to figure out what's going on there, right? So I get in my truck across the street. I'm like, I'm not going to leave till I know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, is this guy just like hassling these poor homeless people, or is he just fucking around with them? Because he's like yelling at them. Like, yeah. He's dressed nice, so obviously he's not with them.
Yeah.
And then I saw him watching, right? And he grabs this bike that's there and he pulls it out. And now I can see this bike. It's like a really high-end electric bike.
Oh, yeah.
And he starts yelling at him, and he reaches and he grabs like some bear spray, right? And he pulls it out because they're yelling back at him now. And he's walking away with it. I'm like, they stole his fucking bike.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, that's what happened here.
Yeah, and he just happened to walk past and find it.
Yeah, and he just found it, and he's like, he's taking his bike back.
Yeah.
Right? Jesus. So, but at the beginning of that altercation, I was standing there to see what was going on. And if it was just some guy who was going after a couple of homeless people for fun, I was going to stand in there. I was going to step
do something.
And walk in, right? And be like, you're not fucking doing that. Yeah. But then I said, and I'm like, no, they kind of deserved it.
Yeah, well, in the end, yeah.
It looks like they stole his bike, so they kind of deserve that. So I'm leaving this one to go as it goes.
100%, man. Yeah, they got to face repercussions too, man. Yeah, 100%. That's something that people are way too comfortable too, is with stealing people's shit.
Yeah.
And having no repercussion of it. You look in the States, all those stores that are getting robbed, just clearing people out. Running in with armloads, they're all just laughing. Surveillance of them all and shit. Nothing happens to these people. It's down here, it's bad too, man. There's a lot of theft, man.
Was it San Francisco passed a bylaw because the cops were spending too much time on shoplifting?
Yeah.
So they passed a bylaw making anything under, I think, $10,000 just like a misdemeanor charge.
Yeah, dude.
In a couple hours.
Yeah.
So the cops don't even bother anymore.
Exactly. They're just running in, complete free for all.
Yeah. If they go over 10,000, so this guy was interviewing these guys who do it professionally, and they're like, yeah, we can calculate up to $10,000. We usually cut off about 500, give ourselves a little bit of playroom, and we take that. If we get caught with it, they just let us go. They take the stuff and let us go, and we go to the next spot.
Disgusting, man. Disgusting.
Right? Yeah, and the amount of
and these people are just like making a living off doing that. That's like their job.
That's their job.
They're disgusting, man.
And then, but the amount of stores that are closing down.
In San Francisco?
Yeah. And
ghost town, boarded up.
Even like, you look at, I was watching another guy he's doing downtown Hollywood and Beverly Hills, and the amount of stores that are closing there.
Yeah.
Just because they can't. The crime levels are too high, or there's too much shoplifting, or there's just not people spending money anymore, which is a whole other thing altogether, right? Which, I think over COVID too, we really saw a breakdown of our whole buy and sell system and people buying things online, which is really sad too.
It is, yeah. The mom and pop shops really took a hit, right?
Yeah, they definitely did. I've recently made myself a little bit of a promise to myself. I try to spend my money reasonably locally and morally.
Yeah.
And I've made a decision to make a concentrated effort to stop buying Chinese products.
Yeah. It's nice when you can, man, because
it's tough.
It's everything we get from
tough,
China.
right?
So it's like, you can get like 3 things here in Canada because everything's bought from China. It's sad, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's, I realized, I read something a while back that was, because China's one of the worst polluters in the world.
Yeah.
Hands down, everything about it. They ship their garbage out to the oceans where they dump the ships full of garbage into the ocean. We send all of our garbage over there to be recycled, then they just dump it. It's like third party, like we're just giving it to them so they dump it in the ocean, right? But how they get away with that is because they're labeled as a developing nation.
Yeah.
They're not labeled as an industrial nation yet. Like they somehow, under some guys, they're still considered a developing nation. So there's no environmental regulations put on them, and nobody wants to talk about it or like upset them because they're the biggest economy really in the world. Mm-hmm. And why are we letting this go on? We all know what's happening, but nobody wants to talk about it. They're all too scared, and that is a crying shame, man. Like 100%. They're letting that shit go on, and I think that's another thing where people just don't want to, because like where cobalt comes from, for electric cars, for phones, for any batteries, they all have cobalt in them. Cobalt comes from mines. So right now, 2024 going on 2025. Here's a shocking number. We might have brought this up before, but there is more slaves now than there ever has been in human history.
Yeah.
Let me say it again. More slaves now in 2024 going on 2025 than ever before in human history. You can go look up right now, like slaves mining cobalt. There is families in there with just a hammer and a bag, and there's like kids in there, moms, dads, with just surrounded by people with AK-47s. Well, these poor bastards are chipping freaking stones for their whole life, carrying out sacks of rocks that have cobalt in them for our EV batteries, for our electric cars and our phones. And anybody, even old poor Elon. Mm-hmm. I watched a thing that said nobody can claim that they're basically like slave free cobalt, because there's no such thing. It all comes from slave labor. And if there is some places that don't use slaves, it's completely unaffordable, so people don't buy it from them. Yeah. And if they do, it all gets mixed in at the refineries anyways. So the shit you're getting is mixed with people that was slave stuff. Yeah. So it's like right now that's going on, and we're all using our phones like it's no big deal. We're all going, wanting to buy electric cars, thinking that's all good and that's going to help the environment. Well, there's consequences down there for the old cobalt too. There's 100%. A lot of crazy shit going on. Like that's a real thing that's happening right now. No uprising there though, because we all want the new iPhone 16. Yeah. We all want the new Tesla. We all want the new electric vehicles. That's what's really going on when you look at the heart of it though. So it's like, I don't know, man. There's some huge steps we need to take to like broaden what we think is important to what actually is important. Because right now what we think is important is like keeping up with the Kardashians, buying more shit, more, we need more. What we really need to look at is to go back to a society where everything isn't disposable. Because that just creates so much garbage, so much pollution, so much need for more resources that there's all this stuff going on. We need to, instead of creating, like, we do it like creating stuff for resource like scarcity or whatever, or what is it, like we'll create a phone that only lasts, they'll make it so it only lasts like a couple of years before it starts bugging out. They'll make a car. They could make cars.
They even design them so
exactly. That's what I mean. It's like designed. There's a word for it.
Design obsolescence.
Yeah, exactly. Design obsolescence. So that we have to go buy it again. They can make a light bulb burn for a super long time. They don't, because they need to sell more light bulbs. They can make a car last forever, but they don't, because they need, not forever, but way longer than they do. But they don't, because they need us to go buy more cars, tires, the whole nines. They could do a far better job, but they need to buy more. Instead, back in the day, when your dishwasher broke, there was a dishwasher repairman who would come to your house to fix your dishwasher. Now your dishwasher breaks, you just throw it out and get a new dishwasher, because it's cheaper to get a new dishwasher. Who cares? We'll go get a new dishwasher.
Now, how many times do you walk into a person's kitchen and see a dishwasher from the 70s?
Yeah.
It's still running.
Dude, they're still run great, because that's what they were made before. The shit was built to last. Now, shit's built to break, because it's built the cheapest. Most of it built over in China. We send all the parts are coming from there. Everything we get's coming from there. So our stuff's built over there, and then we get it. It lasts for a couple of years, and it breaks. Washers and dryers, same thing. It's like nothing's ever built to get fixed again, so you can keep using it if it does break. It's built so that you huck it out and you go buy a new one. And before you know it, your whole landfill is filled with shit that it doesn't need to be. You know what I mean? Like, we create so much garbage just for profit. Yeah. That's all it is. You created obsolescence. And it's like, man, we could do so much better. We need to do better. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that's going anywhere anytime soon. No. Like, profit is king in every industry. Pharmaceuticals, the food industry, doctors, even medicine. They're not in the business of curing diseases. They're in the business of mitigating them, so you have to go back for more medicine. Yeah. The food, it's like the food pyramid. They're in the business of making you fat and unhealthy. Yeah. So that the pharmaceutical company can give you some drugs to make you better. So that the doctors are making money because you're unhealthy. The whole thing is that.
They literally, in the food pyramid, they literally told people that they should eat 12 to 15 servings of grains per day. Yeah. They literally killed people. And the reason they did it was because they wanted to sell more American grain.
Yeah, 100%. Shocking. And it's still there today, though, the food pyramid.
Did you ever see that South Park episode where the kids from South Park call like these people and they're like going over the food pyramid and they're like, you got to turn it upside down. Because the fat's in the
in the bottom. Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, we'll turn it upside, but it'll a whole bunch of people get hurt, and then they're like, everybody's getting healthier.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And that's the truth. Yeah. That is 100% the truth. Yeah, if you would eat fatty foods, avocado, meats, stuff like that, you'd be healthier. I was just watching a thing the other day where it said those people would live Oh, what did it say? I want to say that they had like a 25-year longer life expectancy.
Yeah.
The people who were eating the caveman diet, like just strictly meats and stuff, had like 15 years. Mm-hmm. The people that were following the guidelines that's set up in the food chart, had a 400% less or more chances of getting Alzheimer's and all these diseases than anybody who was eating the caveman diet or the fatty diets and stuff like that. Yeah. It was shocking. It's like...
It's crazy.
Yeah, especially with Alzheimer's, apparently. Mm-hmm. Alzheimer's is a huge one for what's for food, apparently.
Well, do you know that Alzheimer's was recently... I don't know how recently, but the Mayo Clinic, which is like a huge clinic in America that does medical research, has actually now started classifying Alzheimer's as type 3 diabetes.
Really?
Yeah. So it's literally from sugars.
From sugars.
Yeah.
Yeah, which isn't surprising, man. Right. There's so much sugar in everything we do.
And I think the thing that people don't understand, and the reason that a lot of doctors will tell you that red meat is bad for you, or bacon is bad for you, or fats are bad for you, is because the hardest thing for a human being to quit eating is sugar. Mm-hmm. Right? Sugar is a drug. It turns in your bloodstream. It's basically you're taking crack.
Yeah.
Right. All the carbohydrates that you eat that turn straight into sugar in your bloodstream. All the alcohol that you drink that turns straight into sugar in your bloodstream. These things aren't designed. Our body's not designed to process sugars like that. We're supposed to take in very little from vegetables and fruits.
Yeah.
That's what we're designed for. Now.
Not a whole bunch of this.
Yeah. Not a whole bunch of that.
Yeah. This is Uncle Donnie's Achilles heel. The Pepsi. Quit smoking and all that stuff. That's the last thing I gotta quit. One. It's the last one for me.
The problem is, so if you eat a high-fat diet and you mix it with a bunch of sugars, super unhealthy.
Yeah.
But it's easier to get you to quit eating sugars.
Yeah.
Or harder to get you to quit eating sugar. So they tell you red meat's bad for you. Yeah. That's why. Because if you mix it with sugars, you're going to be unhealthy.
Yeah.
If you're going to eat a high-protein diet, you got to cut the sugar out.
Yeah.
And then it's the most healthiest thing in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, sugar is like one of the hardest things, dude. I've quit smoking and everything, and it's just like, sugar's got me by the balls. Yeah. But, I'll go through periods where I won't drink it as much, or I'll just be drinking straight water.
Have you tried the zero sugar?
I have but that has the aspartame in it, so it's
no, it's got something else.
I was reading the Pepsi no sugar.
Yeah.
It's zero sugar.
Yeah.
And it says aspartame.
Does it say aspartame? I thought it was something else that they used.
Yeah, I looked at it. I was thinking that it was, because I thought so too. I thought Coke had that. Diet Coke. I always hear about Diet Coke, but it has the aspartame in it.
Yeah.
I don't ever hear about Diet Pepsi, but I went looking, it has aspartame in it. Huh. So I don't know what's worse. I'm sure they're both shitty for you. You shouldn't be drinking any of it. Yeah. And really, it's just like syrup. It's no good. So I need to get off the old Pepsi. That's my last big one. It's been a tough one though.
You should try what I use. Yeah, maybe I should give you a little bit to try out. Just mix it with water. It's essential amino acids, and it's flavored. The stuff I get is flavored like white slushy, and it's got some not some carbohydrates, electrolytes in it,
and no sugar in it.
It does have some sort of sweetener in it. I'd have to look and see which one.
Yeah.
But I know it makes, because it turns out the amount of water we're supposed to drink in a day is a lot more than most people.
Yeah, like 4 liters.
Yeah. So I try to use this stuff because I work out too. The essential amino acids and the electrolytes really help. So I tend to drink my water mixed with that, but I think it's got to be a lot healthier than.
No, I'm sure it's a lot healthier than this.
Yeah.
But even like our world is just so tough to be healthy and like I would always bring a 2 liter of water to work. You might remember there. I'd bring a 2 liter and I'd fill up a 2 liter water and I'd have 2 of those a day at work. I work a 12-hour day, so I'd drink 4 liters of water a day. But also at that time, I'm drinking out of a plastic bottle. Mm-hmm. Which is also apparently super cancer causing for you. Just to drink out of a plastic bottle in general is apparently just horrible for you.
Yeah.
That's creating a bunch of bad stuff. You should be drinking out of like glass or like a stainless steel mug or something like that. Nothing, not with this at all. And heating up coffees in the microwave and heating up stuff like in your Ziploc containers. Like we freeze a lot of our meals, right? We'll food prep and we'll freeze it. And then you heat it up in the Ziploc container. Apparently that's terrible for you too, right? To heat it up in plastic, so you're supposed to take everything out of plastic. It's like our whole world is designed around convenience, but at the same time, it's killing us all.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's so hard to keep up on what's really healthy and what's and to do it all. Like
I remember I watched this YouTube video. This guy was sending himself back to his past with his parents with a time machine.
Yeah.
While she was cooking him dinner, and he's like she's making him. I think she's making him a steak, and he comes back. He's like, "No, you can't feed that to Dad. You'll kill him." And she's like, "Oh, okay." She gets rid of the steak and starts making some vegetables. And he comes back. He's like, "No, it turns out red meat's okay. You can go ahead and feed that to him." Yeah. And she starts cooking, and he comes back. He's like, "Oh, but you can't use seed oils."
Yeah, exactly, right? Dude. Can't keep up with it.
Yeah, you can't.
It's just like we're finding out new shit all the time about what's not healthy and what is. And another thing that I was going to say, I heard you kind of brought it up earlier, but I was reading the other day when I was looking at that. There was another post about the. It was actually, I think it was a page I follow on the carnivore diet.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the comments on there, right? And there was a lady. I'm a nurse, and grains are an essential. You need carbohydrates. You need this. She's like, I know. You need 3 meals a day. You shouldn't be intermittent fasting. All this shit. It's like, that's because that's what they did teach her in school.
Yeah.
So she thinks it's true too. But it's like, there's been so much research out there. It's like, no, that ain't true. Like, you do not need that. You do not need, and it's actually good for us to intermittent fast as well, because it eats all the bad cells first. All the shit that's like all your sick cells, when your body's actually like intermittent fasting, it actually eats that stuff first. All the bad cells can eat first. So it's actually a healthy way. It's a good way. They say for like cancer cells and stuff. Even like if there's something starting in your body that's bad, intermittent fasting can help you. Like, it'll destroy those cells first. So I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of good things to intermittent fasting, and they don't want it to see it because it goes against everything they've been preaching. But you need 3 meals a day. You need to have fucking 15 servings of grain with all your meals and shit. It's like terrible guidance.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's really funny. I'm going to bring this up as just one little quick point that goes along with that whole cancer thing and health. Did you know that the most mitigating factor when it comes to whether you're going to survive cancer or not is muscle mass?
Yeah?
Yeah. That is the number one thing that will decide whether you live or die with cancer.
Yeah, that's weird.
I guess it's because, well, first thing, you're stronger.
Yeah.
Right? So you can fight things off better. But also just because you have more body mass for the cancer to eat before it kills you.
Yeah,
so
I
it
guess.
gives you longer to fight.
To fight it off.
Yeah.
I do know a couple people who are jacked who died of cancer. But that's not to say it's 100% true. Or 100% effective.
Yeah.
I mean, it just helps you.
Yeah.
I can see what you're saying. It gives you better odds.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Cancer's a weird thing because it seems to just like, I know some super healthy people who have got it. It's like it's genetics, man. I think more than anything.
I think you're probably right.
I think that
you look at somebody like George Burns who smoked a cigar every day of his life.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, genetics does play a huge part in it, too.
I think it does.
Because I think that it's weird, man. There's some people that work out their whole lives, they eat healthy their whole lives, and all of a sudden they get fucking cancer and they're dead.
Yeah.
And it's like they did everything right.
Yeah.
So I think that down the line, that's one thing that's really the medical industry. I hope that because it's a catch-22. Like, I don't know if they ever want disease to go away. I don't think they want cancer to go away. I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist, Nate, when it comes to cancer. Even like, I think there's possibility that they've even possibly had it cured and buried it.
I think they can have.
Yeah. Because when I tell that to people, they're like, man, are you telling me Steve Jobs would have died of cancer if there was a cure? If they buried the cure, then yeah.
Yep.
Then he wouldn't have known about the cure either.
No.
There would have been several people that knew about it. Just like there was a car that used to run on water. That guy, he got fucking assassinated. And nobody knows how that car ran.
Yeah.
We know that it did because he fucking went all the way across the United States with it.
Yeah.
But they burned the patents, fucking killed the guy. Nobody ever knew how to make that fucking thing work again. It's never happened. So it's like shit like that goes down with medicine too. And
for sure.
Somebody would have had a cure. They're like, holy fuck, look at this. It works, guys. Fucking shut up.
You're right.
Fucking assassinate the guy, burn his fucking research. Nobody knows. It goes back to that's never, so.
I don't know if I told you this, but my Patricia's brother has cancer, right?
Yeah.
And he's in heart failure and he has lung cancer, so he can't take chemo because he's in heart failure. So he's on some drugs for the heart failure, but for the cancer they can't really do anything because everything will cause the heart failure to get worse.
Yeah.
So he's actually been taking, and you can actually do some research on this on your own if you look online. He's actually been taking ivermectin. Because it turns out that ivermectin is actually showing a lot of promise on stopping cancer.
Yeah.
And he's gotten to the point now where he is, the cancer is not leaving, but it's not progressing.
Oh yeah?
And he's got like the worst kind of lung cancer. Like his doctors are telling him he should die.
Yeah.
And he looks like he's gotten a lot better over the last 6 months or so.
Really?
But the cancer is just staying level.
Yeah.
Right? It's not progressing.
Yeah.
So he's not in remission. It's still there.
Yeah.
But it's not growing.
Not growing anymore.
And so yeah, he's taking ivermectin. It's funny. I had a talk with somebody at work there, and I mentioned to them that he was doing that. And this particular lady, she goes, ivermectin? Do you mean horse dewormer?
Yeah, dude.
And I'm like, oh my God.
Still, that's what the news did to these people.
Right?
That's what the news did to these people during COVID.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy.
And it's funny because she's going, oh no, she's like, that's just horse dewormer. I can't believe that people take it. I'm like, that was designed for human beings. And the guy who made that drug got a Nobel Prize for making that drug. And she's like, he may have got a Nobel Prize, but I doubt it was for that drug. And she's like, so I got on Google and I pulled up ivermectin cancer, and I'm like, look. Yeah. And she grabs it and she starts looking. She's like, these look real. They're all studies that they're doing on ivermectin. She's like, these look real. I'm like, because they are real.
Yeah. Just because you heard CNN talk about it during COVID and you're still fucking talking about that as fact. Yeah. Shocking to me, man. Like, people's bullshit meter is broken. Yeah. You know, you need to be recalibrated. Recalibrate the bullshit meter, because you guys cannot decipher what is bullshit and what is not. Yeah. Everything that, almost at this stage, if they're telling you it's a conspiracy theory, it's the truth. You know, minus the flat earth. There's some fucking weird ones out there.
Yeah, there are some weird ones out there.
But I mean, for me, it's like, I knew that was obviously fake. You know what I mean? It's like there's some shit that just because I've been looking at it for so long, then I'm like, yeah, they're lying about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the news is lying about that. And then it comes out later, sure enough, they were lying about it. You know what I mean? Everybody will tell me I'm nuts for a fucking year, and then it's like, shit, man, you're right. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I know. Yeah, no,
for sure.
Yeah, because I could just read their bullshit, man. And that's just what it is, man, really. The majority of the media is bullshit. Yeah. Very, like, even the right-wing shit, like, that we like, it's like, dude, I feel like it's more to what we want to have happen. But still, when their person does something wrong, they're not going to fucking go against them either, right? It's like there's no medium. I want to hold everybody to the same. I want to hold everybody's feet to the fire. Yeah. When you say something, I want you to answer it directly. Mm-hmm. You know, I want you to do what you say you're going to do. Then I'll believe you. Yeah. You know, when you say you're going to do something and you never fucking do it, that shit's way too common with in politics, man. Yeah. They say something to get in, they never do it. Both right and left have both said they're going to fix the native Indian reserves, get them water, get them healthy shit. They're going to do all this, and they never do. You know, and that's the same in the States. They're going to fix the water in Flint, Michigan, and all this shit. No, they never do it. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I want there to be accountability. That's my big thing. Accountability. And that used to be what the media was for. The media would, like bipartisan, they would go in and investigate. And if it turned out that a certain politician was doing something wrong, they would write an op-ed on it, man. And it'd be like, you know, these are facts, not opinion pieces. This is what really happened. And you could get to the bottom of a situation. Now everything is opinion pieces. That's all it is, man. None of it's facts. It's all clickbait. Yeah. You know? There's no real reporting going on anymore.
No, for sure. I think if you look at all the groups that are, like all of these groups on the left and the right, like if you look at like Antifa, right, Black Lives Matter, and then you go all the way over to the right and you look at a group like QAnon. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a part of me, believe it or not, that almost thinks that the left made QAnon.
Just so they'd have something to talk about the
right. That the right would look crazy.
Yeah.
I like QAnon, a lot of the shit that they said was so crazy that I was like, it didn't feel like, you know,
I hear you.
It was almost like they were pushing this group that was saying such crazy shit, you know, about I forget some of the stuff that I heard, like about aliens. Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff. It was just wild, and I almost think that maybe that was made up by the left to make the right look crazy.
I kind of thought that about flat Earth at the beginning. Yeah, I thought it was a joke. Right, I didn't realize the flat Earth shit's still going on. Yeah, there's still people that are talking about it. I thought it was like a joke that was going to go away in like a week. Fucking Eddie Bravo, jiu-jitsu master, was on fucking Rogan. He's been on there a bunch of times. He 100% believes in flat Earth. Like still to this day, he doesn't believe space is real. Like, so dude, I'm like, what are you?
So we're talking about what's out past the end of the universe, and he's like, what's out past the end of the land right
now? Yeah, he doesn't think it's real, dude. He brings up all this shit. they show him like, watch, here's a rocket going into space. Watch the footage. He's like, looks fake to me. It's like, well, nothing's gonna prove you. Like, it's all fake, man. It's none of it. You know, because what's real then? Yeah. If you can watch it every stage of it going up, you know, because it was real when it was on the land, right? Mm-hmm. You can see the cameras around it, cars whizzing by, and all of a sudden it goes up and it's in space. Now it's not real. And there was a guy just recently, because they don't believe even that there's 24-hour daylight in Antarctica or in the North Pole. Yeah. You know, we know, Nate, even being in the North. Yeah. The days obviously get longer in the, you know. It's like, so what, do these people all just live around the equator where they have equal days and nights? Like, I don't even understand. If you're anywhere near the north, the farther north you go up, the days will get longer in the summer. In the wintertime, they get shorter. Mm-hmm. Like, that's pretty clear to everybody. So for us, it's like, it doesn't even make sense. We're like, what do you mean? Of course, that's how it works. But they don't even see that. They had a guy, I don't know how this came up on my feed, but a flat earther, some guy was like, look, flat earthers fake. He's like, I'll bring you down to our place in Antarctica. You will see there's 24-hour daylight. You can see the sun spin around, and you'll see it. So he brings the guy down. And he's like, I know I'm gonna get lit up for this, but you know, the Earth is round, guys. Yeah. He's like, I didn't believe in 24-hour daylight. There's 24-hour daylight down here. And it's like, what do you mean you're going to get lit? Like, who doesn't actually believe that?
Right?
I didn't realize there's that many.
I mean, just there's videos online of people going fishing for days on end.
Yeah.
From like the 70s. Had nothing to do with anything political.
That's right.
We're fishing for days. Look at us.
Yeah, look at us. And it's fucking 24-hour sunlight down here. Survivor Man. Yeah. Survivor Man did an episode like up in Labrador. Yeah. It wasn't about that. But it had 24-hour daylight. In Alaska one time, he was like paddling around. He's like, it's like 3 a.m. here right now. Yeah. You know, and it's like still bright out. It wasn't 3 quite, because it starts getting duskish. It doesn't get completely dark though, ever. Like in Labrador where he was at, right? He was paddling around and shit. And it's like, it's pretty much 24-hour daylight the whole time, right? And it was past midnight. And he's like, that's the one thing up here. You know, you got to realize when to stop working. He's like, I didn't realize it was midnight already.
I remember I had a boss back in Invermere at an excavating company, and he lived up north for several years, and he's like, yeah, one day I finished work and I decided to go fishing, and I got out in the boat and I was out fishing. He said, and all of a sudden I look at my watch and I'm like, I gotta work in a couple hours.
Jesus, eh? Well, they're all night fishing, all night, but yeah, that's crazy. So there's some out there like these, you know, that are just like, it's amazing that they even take off some of these conspiracy theories, and that's why I feel like they're a setup. But I guess there is just gullible, dumb people out there that'll believe that shit, right?
There's got to be people that'll believe just about anything. You know? I mean, I think the point I was trying to make earlier, too, about those groups, the point I was trying to get to, is that we need to think, like, all of these groups have become something in their own way, right? Something, a movement in their own way. I don't want to use movement because that makes it sound like...
They're almost like a religion, you know? But it's like not quite a religion, it's like more like an ideology or something, like a flat earth, like...
I was going to kind of go like they're almost more of a business.
Oh, okay.
They've got a, like, if you look at somebody like Black Lives Matter or Antifa...
Like, they definitely are.
They're like a business.
Yeah.
And their whole reason for being in business is to keep you on a certain ideology because that's where they make their money.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, it is. 100%.
So, I mean, I can't remember who the quote was from. I can't remember exactly how the quote went. But it was a black gentleman from the 70s, and he was talking about the Black Panther movement. Mm-hmm. And he said something along the lines of, you have to be really careful sometimes that the group that you believe that you are with because they are fighting against tyranny is actually trying to keep you in that tyranny because that's how they make their money.
Yeah, the victim mentality.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, there is groups like that, man. That one's a good, like the Antifa, the anti-fascists. They're literally the definition of fascist.
A fascist, 100%.
It's unbelievable to me. It's like a complete oxymoron. Yeah. You know, it's like, but you're promoting, you want fascism, is what you're saying.
They're just like the freaking stormtroopers and Nazi.
It's unbelievable, dude. It's unbelievable. They don't want free speech. They don't want any of that, right? Like,
and when they were having all those riots down in the States with Antifa and pallets of bricks were getting delivered like 2 days before the riots happened.
Yeah. Spontaneously delivering, pallets. Like, yeah, that was pretty weird, dude.
Yeah, there was
that seemed like it was almost like, they're getting funded from somewhere, clearly, right? Yeah, that was strange, man. Yeah, we didn't really have, like, we've had similar shit down here, but like recently with those Palestine protests and stuff, it's been a big one that I've just that really noticed. It was like,
blows me away.
these people, are crazy that they're even. Fuck, man, that there's no repercussions for them. I don't know, man.
It's wild to me. I mean, you know what? What is happening? What is happening?
Morally to people.
Yeah. What is happening in Gaza is horrible, but they need to start blaming the people who are really responsible for it.
Exactly.
The Israelis have been attacked and attacked and attacked. I saw a video of some she was a TikTok star. She was at that music festival that got raided in the first days, and they took her prisoner and they stripped her and they raped her. And they drove her around in a truck, showing everybody what they did to her in the back of this truck. Yeah. I mean...
disgusting.
The Israelis have been attacked so hard.
And everybody's getting on their side. Yeah. You see, like, what did they label Netanyahu as there? Like a fucking...
war criminal.
Yeah, war criminal, man.
Yeah, and our prime minister said that he'll arrest him if he comes to Canada.
Yeah, unbelievable, man. You know, in World War II, so like Netanyahu has gone above and beyond, in my opinion, what he needs to do. He was giving them a heads up where he's going to bomb, when he's going to bomb, which is ridiculous, for one. You should definitely not be doing that, because then the people know who you want to be bombing and then just leave. Guess what? When World War II was going on, Berlin was fucking rubble. London was gone. You know, it was fucking rubble. Yeah. France, everything was gone. Like, Paris and shit was rubble. People bombed cities. That's what happens in war. Yeah. That is literally what happens in war.
And if you think America didn't do it, look up the 2 nuclear weapons that they dropped in World War II.
Oh, exactly, man.
So many citizens.
There was more in like fire bombings that they were, before they dropped the nukes, they were dropping incendiaries in like Nagasaki and other places and shit. Lots of their buildings were all made out of wood. Yeah. So it started these huge firestorms. It actually burned whole cities, killed more people than the actual nukes did. And crazy fires. Burnt the whole cities down. They're gone. You know? And that's what war is, though, guys. And that's what we're talking about. Knowing facts that these people are over there. They're using human hostages and shit. Mm-hmm. You know? People can leave. They have options if they want to go. They call it like an open air prison or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Well, it's unfortunate because they're still sheltering the Hamas people, and it's like, and we're not over there, Nate. So I don't feel like we should really be even getting involved. No, if they keep attacking Israel can damn well attack back. Yeah, you know, and it's like let the bricks fall or let the chips fall where they may. Yeah. If Israel wants to wipe them out completely, that's what needs to happen then.
And we got to remember too that these terrorist groups like Hamas and Hezbollah, you can fight by as many of the rules of engagement that are in place throughout the world as you want to, but they're not.
Yeah, they don't use them.
They don't use them. They don't wear uniforms. You don't know what they look like. They hide behind civilians. They hide behind children. Yeah.
There's going to be casualties of war. Yeah. That is part of war.
And a lot of the casualties of war that they're getting are because of the tactics that they're using of hiding behind civilians.
Yeah, they'll hide in their apartment buildings and they'll hide like underneath them in all places where the civilians are just living, right? And the fact that the people that are over there like propping these guys up still makes like, I almost think of them, they must be like North Korea in an information blackout where they don't know what the hell's going on. You know what I mean?
Or they're just
getting one side, the propaganda the one side. I remember watching a video after 9/11 over in Palestine. It was like fucking 4th of July. The celebrations they were having after 9/11, man, was unbelievable. Everybody was cheering. It was like the best day of their lives that happened. So kind of fuck those guys. Mm-hmm. You know, if they're all for that, like I think that shows you where their allegiance lies. That they love that shit. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of stuff they want, and that's stuff they're gonna do to other people. So let Israel defend themselves. And let's fucking figure it out from there. If they have to bomb some buildings to get rid of these guys, that's what needs to happen.
And I think if you look throughout history too, Israel has a history of signing peace accords with these people.
Yeah, lots of them. Yeah, that's right.
Lots of them. Yeah. Like they're not looking for the fight.
No. But it always gets brought back to them. They'll sign a peace accord, they'll break it every time. Every time. Hamas will break it.
Every time. They rebuild, they break the accord again. So, I mean, how can you expect them? They're fighting for their lives over there.
Yeah. And you hear about from the river to the sea, all that shit. Like they want to exterminate them is what they're saying.
They want to exterminate the Jews that live in Israel. They want all of them from the river to the sea dead. So when you hear somebody yelling from the river to the sea, they're calling for the death of every single person in Israel.
It's almost like they want to be, like they're siding with Hitler.
Right.
Same kind of thinking.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's what led to the worst atrocities of World War II. You know?
And they keep saying that the Jews were put there. The Jews were given that land after World War II because they had a few bad things done to them in World War II. They probably deserved a little bit, right? So they were given that land after World War II by the powers that were at the time, and the Palestinians say that was not their land. That was the Palestinians' land. It was given to the Jews. But if you go all the way back to biblical times, that was their land. The Palestinians took it from them.
That's right. And if we're going to play that card, Ukraine was Russia.
Yep.
You know, so he has all the right to go back in there. Then Russia, what are we worried about Ukraine for?
Yeah.
Fuck, that was Russia. That was Soviet Union before, guys. So Putin has all the rights in the world to take it back. Then is that what you're saying? It's like you can't have both. You can't have it both ways.
No.
Okay. Either it's okay for everybody or it's not okay for everybody. He can't be like, oh, it's okay for this guy because I like him, but not okay for that guy because I don't like him. It's got to be the same rules all the way around. You know, and if we think that it's okay for Ukraine to fight back because Russia's trying to take it back, it's got to be the same as Israel fighting back against Hamas. It's the exact same scenario. So, I don't know. We're living in a world where shit's just completely batshit crazy, Nate, like we were saying about the old Boss 6 particle. We've combined with an alternate reality.
Yeah.
Where good is bad and bad is good.
And when you have groups like Queers for Palestine,
I know, it's like
let's just be perfectly clear.
Oh my God!
If any of those queers go to Palestine, the Palestinians will kill them.
Yeah, they'll stone them to death, huck them off a bridge, huck them off a roof, and just celebrate. Drive the queers around in a fucking truck. Unbelievable.
It is unbelievable the amount that these liberal groups think that they're standing up for. I don't even know if they know. They don't know what they're standing.
They have no idea what they think. They think that they're doing something virtuous, right?
Right.
Like they're like yes, like, but they're literally. I hate even to use the R word, guys, but they're retarded. You know, it's like, what are they doing? What are you doing? Do you even have any comprehension about what you're doing? Those people literally hate you.
Yeah.
They want to stone you to death.
Was it recently? This was probably about a year ago. Justin Trudeau. There was a movement throughout Canada called the Million Man March. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So it was actually a march to Ottawa to fight against transgender politics in schools. And it was started by a Muslim community.
Yeah.
Right? So Justin Trudeau had this big problem in that one group of people that he was trying to stand with was going against another group of people that he was trying to stand with. So his response was that the Muslims must have been infiltrated by conservative groups.
Yeah, because they're too dumb to think for themselves.
Yeah.
When people say something like that, that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
That's what just completely infuriates me, man. Somebody's saying they're too dumb? They can't make up their minds on their own, Trudeau? Like, I hate comments like that, man. That's just what drives the division in this country, too, man. He is the worst for that. Like, the division that we have in Canada now is, bar none, it's never been close to this, man. It is at a breaking point. You know, she's at a boiling point. People are ready to snap.
Yeah.
And it's like, I see it everywhere. Everybody that I talk to, man. And even, like, some people that I know that have been liberals forever, they're like, fucking get this guy out of here, you know? Like, we've had enough. But it's not just about him, in my opinion, man. The Liberal Party of today is not the Liberal Party of the 70s. No. It's unrecognizable. The Liberal Party today is the Conservatives. I feel like that is, man. The Liberal Party of the 70s is like the Conservatives now.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we want freedom. We want less government, you know. We want all these things. And it's like they want... I don't know what the hell they want, dude, now. Like, what they're pushing for, dude, is like straight up... what's the word for it? Like, they want it to be completely immoral. Our whole lives to be immoral. There to be nothing off the table. Everything is okay. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like from the crazy shit we were talking about before when they were talking about like adult or minor attracted adults. People, you know, that the boys can be girls, girls can be boys.
Yeah.
You know, queers for Palestine. Just completely shit that makes no sense to any logical person who uses their head. Like, none of this is right or makes any sense. But because they're scared of being shamed or talking about it, the liberals are pushing all this like everybody thinks this way. I don't think they do. Like, I think that there's a lot of people out there that don't think that way. And not just conservatives. I think that the people who have been liberal their whole lives are just like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm a liberal. And they've demonized conservatives their whole lives, so they don't want to be a conservative. But it's like, this party ain't holding your ideals anymore. And that's why, imagine how much balls it took for Robert Kennedy Jr. there to switch parties.
Yeah.
You know? Been a Democrat his whole life. His entire family is Democrats. His uncle was a Democrat. His dad was a Democrat. Everybody ran off Democrats. Apparently his family's like disowned him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of this, right? Because he went over to Trump's side. But it's like, he saw the light, man. He was like, this isn't, and he said this himself, is that this isn't the party of my dad, of my uncles. Like, this isn't the party that I grew up with.
Yeah.
They're demons. Like,
100%.
Who are these people? They're like, it's honestly insane, the stuff that they're trying to make you believe. And we've all known to be wrong and immoral our whole lives until the last 5 years. Now we're supposed to be okay with it? Like, no.
Yeah, it's crazy.
No, I'm not okay with it, man. And I'm not going to be okay with it.
No. I don't know if you know this, but Trump used to be a Democrat too.
Yeah, dude. Up until the 90s.
Like back in the day, he was actually friends with Clinton.
And she said he was great.
She said, she's like, one day I hope we can have a president like Donald Trump.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
As soon as he ran as a Republican, look what happened.
Yeah. And the man ran as a Republican because he saw what the Democrat Party was turning into.
Yeah.
If you look back, it was a really sad situation we had when we went through like the Gulf War and the Bushes, when we had the Bushes in power. You know, it kind of soured a lot of people on the Republican message because it felt like a lot of it was just, you know, I'm going to go after these people because they hurt my dad. And,
you know, warmongering.
Yeah. And it's kind of soured. A lot of people who would have traditionally voted Republican back then ended up voting Democrat. And we ended up with Obama.
Yeah.
Right. And Obama, I personally think Obama was like the devil. He was beautiful like an angel, but his heart was cold.
Yeah, he killed more people in drone strikes, over millions, Iraqi civilians and shit too, and they were bombing people over there. Like, that's the funny thing, man, is that people equated after, like you were saying, like the Bushes with the Gulf War, one end, basically they went into Iraq again, like Gulf War fucking two. You know, in Afghanistan it was like, hey, there's a reason. These people attacked the trade centers, we're going to go in there. Then all of a sudden, they're just sidetracked. We're going to go into Iraq too because weapons of mass destruction, which were never there, never even really known to be there. Right? They like knew that was bullshit going in. That's known now. Like they knew that was bullshit. There was never any there.
They were looking for a fight and they were going to get it no matter what. Yeah,
exactly, man. And that's the thing though. People are like, oh, they associate that with Republicans. That's not Republicans. That's the war machine. That's the military-industrial complex, and it is in both parties. It is fucking conservative. It is Democrat. That, I think, is one of the biggest problems that we have in the world in general, is that. Because it's like, if there's no war to fight, people start looking inwards at their own country. And people don't want that. You know, the governments don't want that. They don't want citizens who are thinking about, what's actually wrong with our country? What the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
They need to be thinking of outside fears. I'm scared of this country. The Russians. Oh my God, the Russians are coming. You know, there's always got to be an outside threat. Because when people start thinking about what's actually going on inside, they're going to realize there's too much corruption, too much BS going on here. And I think that is the biggest reason, the biggest driving force of why the military-industrial complex just keeps going on. Like it doesn't get stopped because there's always another fool. And a lot of that shit's been false flag attacks. Going into Vietnam, the Gulf of Tonkin incident, that fucking ship that got sunk, they said the Vietnamese people fucking shot this ship down and that's why they went to war. Complete bullshit. The United States sunk their own fucking ship and then they went to war with it. And that was brought to light later on, and it was like, look how many people got killed in Vietnam. How many innocent fucking people, right? In Iraq, over 1 million civilians got killed. 1 million. And I'm sure the number is I think it was actually quite a bit more than that. That was like the last number that I remember hearing quite a while back. But so that's just in those two alone. And you know what other little thing I read, Navy, too?
What's that?
A little side note. So all those places, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, there's one more that I'm missing. All those places were some of the last countries in the world that didn't have federal reserves.
Interesting.
Yeah. And now they got Federal Reserves.
That is very interesting.
So, because they wanted to make, like, I think the end goal here is to make a global currency. Like, I think that there is, like, somebody's running all this shit to be the one world order.
If you look at a couple of things they've been pushing in the last couple of years, really kind of terrifying when it comes to that. When they start talking about making digital currencies for countries, I am all for crypto. I'll come straight out and say that. I am all for crypto. I am not for crypto government money.
Yeah.
Government money needs to be a physical thing.
Yeah, or else they can track everything.
Right? Or else they can track everything, and they can look what our prime minister did during the trucker convoy, shutting down people's bank accounts and stuff, shutting down, taking their crypto. I mean, the stuff that they did. And if they make a digital currency, that'll just be so much easier. It'll be a push of a button. That guy's got no money.
Remember that when they had a GoFundMe for the trucker convoy, and it made a shit ton of money.
Millions.
Yeah. They shut it down. I wonder what happened to that money.
I think the government ended up getting that money.
Yeah, like, isn't that insane?
And they used it to pay out businesses in Ottawa that they said were affected
by the trucker
convoy.
Disgusting. Yeah. Disgusting, man.
Some poor. I remember the story of some poor lady in Vancouver, a single mother. There was a waitress that donated some money to the trucker convoy, and they shut down her bank accounts.
Yeah, like that was like rapid. That happened to a lot of people. It wasn't to like a couple people that are terrorists. It was normal mom and pops who donated to a cause that they believed in. That was nonviolent, wasn't doing anything besides bringing attention to a real problem that was happening in Canada, and that's what our prime minister did. Yeah. So that's a real problem if stuff does become all digitized and where it's all traceable.
And then that kind of goes back to what we were talking about before about there being no consequences for him. It goes to court. He was found, these special powers that he put in place, he was found to have been, what did they call it?
Yeah, it's not non-constitutional.
It wasn't constitutional. Yeah, something like that. So he should have never been able to use these powers in the first place, and nothing happened.
Yeah. That's the disgusting part about our country, man. It's like there is no repercussions for our political. I think that there needs to be politicians need to have a healthy fear of the civilians that they're supposed to be helping guide, because they're not our rulers. They're supposed to be there. Back in the day, they were there because not everybody could ride a horse to go vote, so we voted somebody from our town or our community to go, speak for us. But that's not what's happening anymore. They're not speaking for us. They go there and they're speaking for these higher interest groups that they're dealing with that are paid for them to get there, all their lobbying and all that shit. And it's like those are the people who are running us. The people at the Federal Reserve, it's called the Federal Reserve, these places. The Federal Reserves are private, owned by private citizens, which is a crazy thing to think about. I know the Rothschilds owned a substantial amount of Federal Reserves. I don't know if they own all of them, but think about that. The trillions of dollars that the government owes in money, and Canada is how many billions in debt? An incredible amount. Like almost, I can't remember what the last number, I don't even want to say it, but it was a ton of money. All of that money isn't owed to like a government agency or some it's owed to a person, owed to a family of people who own these banks. Those are really the most powerful people in the world, who own all the banks. And isn't it weird that those were the only places in the Middle East and stuff that didn't have Federal Reserves, and now we go into them, and now they do. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Russia does.
Russia doesn't have.
Russia doesn't have a Federal Reserve, and that's another thing. It's like
if you go back all the way back to World War II, Nazi Germany didn't have a Federal Reserve either.
I know. So there's something weird going on with that, that's a rabbit hole you can go down and not come out of for weeks when you start looking into that, the Federal Reserves, and it's pretty scary shit. Yeah. Not a lot of people even know about it. They have no idea when you hear Federal Reserve, you just think it's like a government agency. Yeah, it's not. They say the government's just printing money, no, it's not. The government is getting a loan from the Federal Reserve, which is privately owned, at interest, from a guy who owns that bank, from a family who owns that bank. And that the Federal Reserve is a privately owned place. So it's like when they're going there printing like ours, $60 billion we printed up in our deficit this year. Yeah. $60 billion this year. That's owed back with interest.
With interest.
So like our GDP almost just goes back to paying the interest at this point.
To the bank.
To these guys who own the bank.
So I don't think a lot of people know this too. When you say you have a $5 bill in your hand, right? And this works for every country that has a Federal Reserve. So this is the same in America. We think of that $5 bills. That $5 bill is $5, right? This is a $5 bill. It's good for $5. What it actually is, it's called a promissory note. And what that means is that is a marker for the $5 of debt that is owed to the bank, to the Federal Reserve. So what you actually own is temporary control of that amount of debt.
Yeah.
That is actually owned by the Federal Reserve. Your money doesn't belong to you. Your money can be taken away from you at any time. The Federal Reserve can take that money back.
Yeah.
Which would put the country into bankruptcy. But if they decide to do that, they can call those markers in whenever they want.
And if they're trying to bring into, say, a new world currency, once they get all their Federal Reserves in place, which I'm a conspiracy little nut when it comes to that little wench, because I've been down some rabbit holes. I think that there's a good chance that is what's happening.
I believe
I think that that's what they're trying to bring into play. Eventually, it might not even be in our lifetimes. These people play the long game. They're looking down 100 years in the future. They're not looking next week, next month. So I think eventually that's what they want to do, is put in place a new world currency where it's like one currency for the entire world uses, and I think that's how they're going to do it. They're just going to slowly put in these Federal Reserves everywhere. Everywhere is going to be so in debt. They're going to say the only way we can fix this is if we start a new currency. Everybody's so in debt. We need to make a new currency. We'll put a value on it. Boom, they start printing that out. Yeah. And all of a sudden, just exact same way we're doing this, they call it legal tender. That's what they call our money now, because it used to be backed in gold.
Yeah.
Now it is called legal tender, which means fucking nothing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Back in the day, your dollar, this is another thing a lot of people don't know too. So, say we take, or we're putting money into the bank. Say we're putting, our paychecks are going into the bank, right? We're putting $1,000 into the bank. They're only required to keep 10% of that in cash at the bank. The other 900 gets lent out for loans from other people that they have. Then that person, say they deposit that money back into their bank. They deposit the 900. Well, they get to keep 100 of that. That 800 again goes out and gets fucking loaned out. So it's like that money goes back and forth so many times, charged at interest. It's unbelievable. So if everybody actually recalled their money, there is nowhere near enough money in the system for everybody to get their money out. There's not enough cash in the system. Not even fucking close.
Well, that's why all those banks crashed in America in the last
recession,
right? Because it's called a bank run.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, we're going into recession. I want my cash.
Yeah.
So everybody runs to the bank to get their money out, and the bank doesn't have all their money.
Yeah, it turns out the bank doesn't actually hold our money like they say they're going to hold our money. Not at all. They give it back out for loans and whatever else they think they're going to go buy, and they fuck us over. Mm-hmm. Banks are bullshit too, man. Like, it's a scam too. It's the only way we can. Yeah. And we've let it come so far now that it's illegal not to have a bank account, basically. You can't buy anything with cash. You can't buy cars. You can't buy a house with cash. You can't do anything with cash. It's like, if you have cash and you go spend it, you'll probably get arrested. You're suspicious. Yep. If you're carrying around any amount of money and the cop pulls you over for a ticket and he knows you have money, you'll get arrested. He thinks you're a drug dealer.
Yep.
It's like people don't have cash anymore. And if you do have it, you're a weirdo. Yeah. It's like, what are you doing with cash, man?
They've started up laws here in BC where if they find a certain amount of money in your bank account, you can't explain how you got it, they take it.
Yeah. And that's another thing too, is like, just the fact that all that is so trackable and traceable is like, I'm not a fan of that either, man. I know, and like, there's people who are scamming people. So in one hand, I'm like, yeah, I'm glad that the people who are getting scammed can get caught. But in reality, the biggest scammers are the banks themselves and the government with the taxes and shit too. So there's so much more that can be done. I feel like it's only, apparently like in the US, they just hired like something like another like 20,000 freaking workers for the IRS. I've seen somebody question in, I can't remember her name, the press secretary, Biden's press secretary. Yeah. And he's like, so who was begging for more interactions with the IRS? And she's like, I don't understand your question. Could you go? He's like, well, you just hired all these new workers for the IRS, to go after the mom and pop for every nickel and dime they spend. What about all the mishandlings of the money you guys have done?
Yeah.
You know, like where's the IRS looking into that? Because they don't. It's like we don't have any say where all our tax money goes. I wouldn't even have as much problem paying as much taxes as we do if I could see it going to work in our country. Mm-hmm. I don't though, because it all gets shipped out overseas.
It's going to Ukraine.
Yeah, it goes to Ukraine. They're taking our guns away. You want to know a crazy fact, guys? Canada is taking Canadian gun owners' guns away, shipping them over to the Ukraine to fight in the war in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Like guns that, because they don't want people shooting people with guns. So they're going to ship them from the legal, law-abiding citizens of Canada over to Ukraine so they can literally go shoot people.
Yeah.
Like our Prime Minister is a complete POS, taking away our guns from law-abiding citizens and sending them over to Ukraine to go kill people. Like, that's what they're doing. Are you telling me they don't have enough money to go buy their guns with all the money that we've already sent them? There is no way you're telling me that they don't have money for guns. No. The United States has sent them a metric shit ton of money. We've sent them a shit ton of money. I guarantee you all these other countries have sent them a shit ton of money. Where is the money going?
You know what? You know what about that too? It's 100% virtue signaling. You know what?
Oh yeah.
You know what Ukraine's going to do with those guns?
Nothing.
They're going to throw them away.
Exactly. Or give them to fucking citizens or whatever.
There is a reason why a military uses a military round.
Yeah.
So now they want to send them 22s and 30-06s.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to look at them. They're going to go, we don't want to keep track of all these different bullets. Throw those away.
Yeah. That's right. It's too much.
It's too much, right? Yeah. That's why governments have a military round.
Yeah, they have military spec ammo.
Right.
You know? Yeah, no, it's true. And he's just such a piece of shit. That is totally virtue signaling.
It's virtue signaling, 100%.
Trying to make it seem like he's doing the right thing, you know?
They just made a bunch of semi-automatic 22s illegal.
Yeah, tons of them.
We're going to send those over to the Ukraine so they can plink at the Russians.
God, man. God. What are we dealing with here?
It's a disaster.
It's complete. Like, this is what I mean. Like, it seems like we're living in a bizarro world. An old-fashioned Jerry Seinfeld bizarro world. Where everything's backwards, it's a little bit off. Everybody can see it, be like, it ain't quite right. Yeah. What is happening? That would never happen before, but now it's like, we're going to take them away and send them down. The only semi-autos that aren't illegal pretty much right now is SKSs, because the Inuit and stuff.
Which is actually a military
round. But the Inuit claimed it as their
traditional
hunting rifle. God bless them. Thank God.
Yeah, because otherwise they'd be gone.
And that's literally one of the only semi-autos I think that are still legal. And if not, there's a handful left that they haven't done yet, but they're going to make illegal.
Yeah.
So I really, really hope when Pierre gets in, man, he makes some changes there and brings some of this shit back, because we're pretty much struggling here.
You know, I did see something promising a little while ago. I actually saw somebody was interviewing the head of the CCFR, which is the, I forget exactly what it means, but it's Canadian Firearms
Association
kind of thing. And he was talking about how he was very hopeful about what was going on with Pierre, because he'd had a meeting with Pierre when Pierre first got into power. And he said, listen, don't talk about us, because it's going to be something that's hard for you to get by. Right, it's something that the Liberals can come after you for. So don't talk about guns. Just leave us out of the equation.
Yeah.
And he said, to his surprise, Pierre has talked about the guns being made illegal, and he said a lot of things about it. So he's very hopeful about how.
I hope so, man. I really hope so.
This. I know Pierre says he wants to make Canada the freest country in the world.
Yeah. I
totally support that.
Me too.
I would like to hope. I know there's a lot of talk right now about what's going on with Trump and and our governor of the great state of Canada. I feel like a lot of that is a personal attack on Trudeau.
100% it is, man. That's not anything about Canada.
Yeah,
it's about him and all the shit that he's done. You know, he shipped all investment out of Canada too. You know, he's one who stopped all the pipelines going from giving the United States the oil that they want to buy off of us. I think that's one of the biggest reasons for his tariffs. You know, and Biden stopped that pipeline too when he first came in. Trump wanted to make it happen. Biden wouldn't.
That was one of the first things Biden did when he came to power. I think it was an executive order.
It was the Keystone.
The Keystone pipeline. Yeah. He put a stop to that. Let's be brutally honest here, to you Americans. You've got a couple of choices on where you can buy your oil from, and one of them is. It treats people absolutely horribly. They pull it out of the ground as dirty as they can, and you're holding up tyrannical regimes. And the other is Canada. Yeah. We pull it out of the ground as clean as we can. People have good paying jobs because of it. You go up to the oil sands that have been shut down, and they're freaking oases. I mean, it's beautiful.
We're reclaiming the land really well. And at the same time, we're telling the States that let's tell Quebec that. And the Easterners too, because they buy all the oil from Saudi Arabia. Danielle Smith was talking about a way that we could have an efficient pipeline running from Alberta to Quebec to supply them with oil, but they are so anti-oil. They hate, as far as I'm concerned, Quebec can fuck right off. You know, they hate Canada, man. They always talk about wanting to leave. Yeah. Please do. What do you bring to our country? Multiculturalism, great. You don't produce shit.
Debt.
You know, you debt is all it is. We have equalization payments here in Canada too, which is another BS thing. Our like when I used to live in Alberta was the most prosperous province that we have in Canada. They make more money than any other province by a metric shit ton. And only in the last 10 or 15 years, we've given $250 billion to Quebec as equalization payments. They haven't given anybody anything because they don't make nothing. Yeah. So, and do you think, and all they do is shit on Alberta, but they want that equalization payment still. That doesn't get to stop. And same with Ontario. Ontario is taking a pile of it too. We should pull them up and post some pictures of the equalization payments in this part here.
I will.
Yeah, because it's incredible.
So it'll be up right here.
Boom. Look at that. Isn't it insane?
Wild, right?
Yeah, I don't get it. The amount of equalization payments that Alberta has to pay to everybody else, and they can still shit on them and not want to develop the resources, but they still want all the money. So it's you can't have it both ways.
No.
If you're going to shit on Alberta and you hate on oil and gas, you hate on everything that they are, then you don't get the piece of the pie. And you certainly don't get to, because Trudeau is the worst for it too. He's always talking about how you can't do that with equalization payments because they were threatening for a while not sending them. But there's something that it's tied in where it's not that simple to just for Alberta not to send it to them. So, but I just think it's hilarious though, the double standard there. They're buying oil, literally, and they care about the environment. But all their oil is coming from Saudi Arabia in massive oil tankers, which Saudi Arabia has terrible human rights violations. They pull it out of the ground terribly, just like Nate said. And when it comes here, it comes on boats, which is polluting the shit out of the environment, way worse than pipelines. And they don't see the double standard there. The oil is more dirty. There's human rights violations, the pollution from the ships coming over, or we can get a pipeline from a province that's a few away in our own country. Yeah. You know, build a couple of refineries here in our own country, which would be fantastic as well, and develop our resources a bit more. Because guess what? Oil and gas ain't going anywhere.
It's not. Even if you were able to get rid of even if you did get electric cars for everybody, which is never happening.
No, it's never happening.
It's never happening, right? Even Elon Musk will tell you he wants to sell as many electric cars as he can. Yeah. He'll tell you not everybody can have one.
No.
We don't have the power grid, and we don't have the natural resources to do that. It's just not possible. Here's one for you. Imagine you're living in a big city in an apartment building, and you got a car, and you park your car out in front of that apartment building. Where are you going to plug in?
Yeah.
There's no apartment buildings out there that have plug-ins you can just plug in right off the street.
Yeah, for everybody.
Right?
Yeah, for the thousands of people that live there.
Yeah, so it's not happening.
And if it did, do you know where the grid's coming from? And guess where that power is coming from? From plants.
Yeah.
In the States, specifically, coal power, some of them. I was watching a thing the other day. It was just absolutely hilarious. It was a few years back. But it was just showing how dumb people are. Yeah. They were cutting a ribbon on a new charging station. And somebody interviewed the person who was doing it. They're like, where's the power coming from? They're like, right here. You just plug it in. And they're like, well, yeah. But where's the power coming from that? Powering this. And they thought about it for a minute. Well, I don't know. And somebody's like, coal. Yeah, I guess. From the coal plant, I guess. Yeah. It's so it's not clean energy still. It's where do you think energy just comes out of this box? Yeah. That's what the energy is? No. Where is it coming from? It's coming from coal, gas-powered, nuclear energy. You know, doesn't just come out of the freaking walls, guys. It's not like it's just naturally here. Oh my goodness, you can plug it in, and this is where it comes from.
A lot of power is actually really dirty.
Yeah, it is.
And the funniest part is they make such a big deal about wind power. turbines, wind turbines.
Oh, God.
They literally take so much carbon to make that they can't save enough carbon over their lifetime to make up for
Yeah,
it.
they're literally useless, man. And they're impossible to recycle the pieces.
Yeah.
And they're very inefficient. They only run when it's windy. There's a lot of stuff out there. Tidal energy they talk about. When the tides come in and out, they could use that. But then you're killing a bunch of fish. These things kill a bunch of birds, the windmills. It's like there's always hit and misses of good stuff and bad. And you know what? The windmills are ugly as all sin.
Oh, yeah.
You drive around a wind farm. We have one pretty close to us here in Pincher Creek, Alberta.
It's ugly.
It's a frickin' eyesore, man. You're driving by, it's disgusting. You see windmills as far as the eye can see. It's gross. And I see them in the States too. They got some big ones in California and stuff. It's brutal. But you know what? Where there's used to be a lot of forest too, where they've done all the drilling for oil and stuff too. That's also ugly. I hate how much logging has taken place. I'm kind of like I want there to be a solution where we can move forward in a more sustainable way. Because I think it kind of harkens back to the fact that we as society needs to knock it off with the producing new shit every single year. We need something new. It's like if something works, if there's that old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Sure, it's good to be innovative. It's good to have new ideas. But if it means that we got to throw out a dishwasher every single year because we want to make a profit, that's not good. I think we can all agree that that's not good. And I think that that's one way that we can work towards kind of moving away from this kind of lifestyle where everything's based on stuff, getting new stuff all the time. And that'll at least ease the burden of the oil because everything needs oil right now. Every plastic, your bottle, your phone, your tires, your friggin', literally everything. Everything in your building, all the things in your car, your dash, your steering wheel, all of that has oil in it, man. Literally almost everything. And it's like, so there's so many wells getting punched in everywhere. Like a good example, where I used to live in Fox Creek, used to be like a pretty sweet spot in the bush. You could go out and, my buddy used to have a hunt camp off the main road on the ANC where you could quad in for like 12, 15 clicks. You're straight in the bush for 12, 15 kilometers, go into the bush. They had a wicked hunt camp set up in there. Everything is logged. If you go look at it on Google Earth, from Hinton to Fox Creek to Grand Cache, which is an enormous area. We're talking 4 hours driving on the highway each way. All that is logged. The entire thing is logged. Lease roads. There's thousands of leases punched in everywhere. Like, it's gross. The animals have nowhere to go. There's grizzlies in town there now, cougars that were never there when I was a kid. So there is downsides. Like, and people who don't want to see, there is. I'm sorry, but there's downsides in every industry though.
For sure.
There's downsides in mining. There's downsides in oil and gas. There's downsides in electric vehicles. Like, there is downsides all the time in every industry. Unfortunately, there is. But one thing that we can control is how much we produce and how much we consume as consumers. If people could just not buy the newest and best thing every single year, with companies, if it wasn't just purely like, that's what I hate about how our world is based. It's all based off profit and economy. It's all the world is. The world's like something I was looking at, something I seen a hilarious stat, how in debt the world is. Like, the whole world combined is like a couple $1 trillion in debt. It's like, to who? We made this stipulation on ourselves. Like, what are you talking about? The whole world is in debt. To what? We did this to ourselves. We're making this thing act like it's a big deal when it is not. It literally doesn't even matter. We put the stipulation on ourselves. We don't need to. We can live a much more lifestyle that is easier on the planet, easier on us, and so the workers, so everybody doesn't have to work crazy hours nonstop forever either. It's like, that's because of how much we need to produce. That everybody's got to work these jobs that they hate to make enough money to pay for shit that they don't want, they don't need, but the TV's telling them that they need. There's just way too much of that, man. There's so much more we could be putting our wits to. So, I don't know. We got a lot of weird problems in our world there today. It usually has to do with excess. Right? We have too many options for everything, whether it's food, items that we're going to buy, phones, all that shit. It's like, friggin' the money just flies out of your hands because there's just so much stuff that you need to buy to keep up with the Joneses. And it's like, and just because everything's so expensive nowadays. too, regardless of keeping up with the Joneses. Even if you're not keeping up with them, you're just trying to make it by. Fucking thing of lettuce is like $9.
Oh, it's nuts.
It's
nuts. It's that brings up something interesting. Just the idea of the food and the lettuce. Do you hear that RFK says he's going to make GMOs illegal?
Yeah. God bless you.
That is huge.
God bless you, RFK. That's so big, man.
Huge.
I think that he's in danger too, man. That people are not going to be happy with him, and God bless him for putting the good fight, man. That's one thing that I'm really looking forward to with this administration, man. I think that his administration, Trump's administration, this upcoming term, if he makes it, doesn't get assassinated. Because I'm not convinced that he's not going to. Especially after the crew of people he just put in. Like, this is the chance, Nate, for the first real time ever in our known history where we're going to see some real shakeups, some real change.
Real change.
You know?
It's exciting.
It is, man.
You look at the people he's putting into power and it's like, this guy's planning to make some shit happen.
Dude, everybody.
Right?
Elon, Vivek. Like, I love Vivek too, man. And I just love what they're talking about, the government efficiency by cutting all the fat there. You know, RFK with all the drugs and shit. They got people that they're talking to in schools, like Charlie Kirk was there, and other people were talking about getting all the trans stuff out of schools. You know, and they're taking. And he's
doing that
day one.
Yeah,
like
any school that pushes any trans policies will not receive any government funding.
Yeah, that's what we need to have here, man. Yeah, that's what I love to see. And you know what I love about most of those people, man? They're not lifelong politicians. Mm-hmm. That is what we need.
Yeah. Elon Musk, I mean, there's a lot of people that call him down for never having, they say he never made anything. He just bought things. But he bought things and turned them into amazing things.
Dude, he slept on the factory floor in Tesla for the first couple of years. Yeah. Like, that's what he would do to make sure that people saw him there working. Yeah. It wasn't like he was just bought this, went and lived on a cruise ship, you know. He literally sold all his houses. Yeah. He lives like on the freaking floor in the factories and stuff. Mm-hmm. That's what he does. Just to prove that he's all in on this stuff. Yeah. You know, and he's not better than anybody. Who else can say that? Do you think Jeff Bezos can go say that?
No.
Well, he's sailing around on his freaking yacht. Mark Zuckerberg can say that? No. None of them can say that.
No. What Elon's done, Elon is... You got to say that Elon's one of the greatest minds of our time. When it comes to...
100%, man.
When it comes to innovation and technology. And
transparency.
Yeah, and transparency.
Like, that's one thing he's super... They were talking about... just the other day, I was watching something where I can't remember who it was. Some world food starvation thing talking and said, if we had $8 billion, we could solve world hunger. Mm-hmm. And they made a play to Elon, and other billionaires, right?
Yeah, he was up for it.
But he said, you put together a plan, put it publicly on this platform for everybody to see the breakdown, how my $8 billion is going to solve world hunger, and I will give you the $8 billion. I got no problem doing that.
Nothing.
You know what they came back and said? Well, $8 billion is not really going to solve world hunger, but it'll certainly help. Yeah. And when they didn't have any plan for it, right? It was just like an arbitrary number that buddy just threw out. And they have no idea, as usual, no idea what they're going to do. And why he asked that is because the spending would go to complete bullshit, go to people, is what half that $8 billion. Like, that's why I have such a I have a really hard time giving money to charities.
I can't.
Dude, like UNICEF, you know, back in the day. Remember UNICEF?
Yeah.
Like, that was a scam, man. All that was going to hire people. They were slanging guns through UNICEF.
Yeah.
There was a lot of weird shit going on through UNICEF back in the day, all these charities. You know, and I want to believe that these are going like breast cancer research. Are you shitting me that all that money goes to research? No, it does not. There are so many people making money off all this stuff that people are donating. And if it did go to them, I would be donating all the time. But show me where it goes. I do not believe that it goes to all these places. And unfortunately, too many of these charities aren't charities, man. They get a slight piece of the pie, a very small piece of the overall pie. And then it's going to these executives and other people that are making millions of dollars a year off it. It is 100%. It's
just like Black Lives Matter and Antifa.
It's gross, man.
I remember watching a documentary on what happens when these charities do like big concerts with like big name people in their concerts and stuff, and they end up paying out to everybody involved in the concert so much that they walk out with nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Handful of change in their pocket, and that's it. Yeah, it's gross.
You know what really broke my heart when it came to charity? There's two things. One that really broke my heart was Ronald McDonald House during a certain time in our history when some bad health things were happening, and they refused to allow somebody in who hadn't taken a certain medication.
Yeah, politically motivated medication.
Yeah, and that broke my heart.
Yeah, and big time, man.
And then there was also when I found out that PETA, which I always thought was great. Looking at, there isn't a conservative out there that wants to see animals die or
tortured and
tortured. Yeah. Right? We don't want to see the environment go to hell.
Not at all.
When I found out that PETA runs shelters and that all of their shelters are kill shelters because PETA actually believes that the animals are better off never living with a human again.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Putting them to death is better for them in PETA's
Yeah, it's disgusting. Yeah.
And you see things like that, and then charities that you thought were doing something good, and it breaks your heart.
One of the only ones that does, this is a little shocker for you guys, so all those PETA people and Bleeding Hearts that are talking about animals, you go see how much money they've put into wildlife conservation and to helping our environment. Zero. You know who actually does? Hunters. Yeah. Outdoorsmen. Every dollar that goes into our hunting tags that we pay goes back into conservation. When you go buy outdoor, I don't know if you know any of his name. You go buy outdoor gear from like Canadian Tire, or you go buy like a trail camera. You go buy a backpack, a hunting backpack. You go buy a rifle. A percentage of that money goes back to conservation.
That's cool.
Yeah, so like all outdoor gear that you're buying goes back to, part of that goes back to conservation, which is huge. Huge. That is what keeps our animals going. That's what keeps the cycle possible. Is us, not you Bleeding Hearts doing all this nonsense, fucking protesting about hunters and stuff. You haven't done squat diddly. We're the ones who put in all the money every year for conservation, for having conservation officers, for having actual programs in place to check animal populations, the health of animal populations, see how many is too many. How many is not enough? When there needs to be culls, when there needs to be, when we need to lay off hunting because there needs to be more animals. Like, that's all done because of hunters. Yeah. So.
Yeah, 100%. Like, if you think that hunters go out there as a game to kill animals, like, it's not a game we're looking to win. We're not looking to kill every animal. Yeah. We're like, yeah, boys,
we've done it.
Right? We want more animals left at the end of the year.
That's right.
I can't count how many times I've heard a hunter telling a story about how they had an animal in its sights and it was just legal, but they thought, let's give it another year.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's give it another year.
Yeah,
it's not ready
That's
yet.
right, man. Yeah, lots of people are like that, and that's what I like to see too, is because that's what allows us to keep this going. There's a lot of countries that don't have this. Majority don't. Mm-hmm. We're pretty lucky, the United States and Canada, that we still have good hunting. Yeah. Unfortunately, in the States, they wiped out a lot of animals before they caught up, like bison. The California flag is a freaking grizzly bear. Mm-hmm. Hasn't been a grizzly bear in California for decades. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because they wiped them all out. That's just a prime example of how retarded they are.
It's sad.
But, they caught up and now they're reintroducing a lot of these things, like elk. Elk are back in Kentucky. They reintroduced the elk back into Kentucky and stuff that they never were there before. Or they were there before, but they were wiped out. So they were only in like the northern states in BC, or in the States, and down in like New Mexico. So there was areas where they used to be, but there wasn't anymore. So now they've reintroduced elk in all those places, which is really cool, and they're thriving. The populations are thriving. And there's never been more whitetails on planet Earth than there are right now.
That's cool.
The whitetails are more prevalent because now this is kind of has to do with development, because they love cut blocks where trees get logged. Yeah. That's a whitetail haven. They love that shit. Mm-hmm. So it's like, more deer populate, the more trees we cut down, the more whitetails we got, it seems like. Yeah. Which is one deer or one animal. Like mule deer are a little bit different. They like different areas, so we got to watch out with them. Like, we've done a really good job of managing different areas for different animals to keep it at the ultimate population so we can still hunt, but there's not too many of them that it's going to affect the ecosystem. Sometimes we get it wrong, and they're like with the grizzly bears right now, they need to open up grizzly hunting again. Yeah. But a bunch of Bleeding Hearts have made it illegal to hunt grizzlies, so we can't hunt them, and they're everywhere. They are so thick, they're killing a whole bunch of deer, they're killing a whole bunch of elk. So it's like that's where that shit comes from. All the PETA and the people in Vancouver, right?
I just watched a video of a guy. He did a bunch of videos, like a compilation video of tourists feeding grizzly bears and being attacked. Oh. Dude, if your heart bleeds for a grizzly bear, you don't know what a grizzly bear is.
Yeah, they are literal monsters.
Yeah.
They are literal monsters out there. They're scary to run into. There needs to be way fewer of them. Yes. I'm okay with having fewer monsters, more nice ungulates and the herbivores.
Yeah.
You know, I'm okay with that. Yeah. That's just like back in the day. I wouldn't mind seeing a brachiosaurus now and then. Probably not as many T-Rexes. Yeah, you know? Right. It's like that's how I'm looking at it. Yeah. I want less T-Rexes in the wild, and I want more edible stuff that people can go hunt and eat. And you know, you still want the odd bear out there. You still want grizzlies out there. I don't want them gone, but we definitely need to manage them. We can't let them have free reign, and people think that they're Yogi Bear, that you can just go up and, oh, look at the hippo boo. Go back and cuddle this grizzly bear. Yes, I am. And just get their face mauled off. And then it's like, well, yeah, it's a bear. It's a bear, guys.
It's a bear.
I don't even like it when people say that, like, bears don't like to attack people. Well, sure. But if a bear walks upon you sleeping in the bush, it may attack you. And it can attack you if it wants to, you know? And it's like, it's a bear. So it might want to be a bear.
It might want to be a bear.
Yeah, it might be like, I'm a bear. Fuck this guy sleeping in his hammock. Little bear taco. Just eat him up. Like,
I mean, don't get me wrong. They like their berries and their twigs and stuff like that. But they sure don't mind a steak once in a while.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. Especially like catching enough fish to eat is hard. Chasing down a deer is hard. Chasing down a human, pretty easy.
Pretty easy.
And once bears like killing humans,
they don't stop.
I was watching a thing recently. I think it was in Wyoming, where they said they have an enormous population of grizzlies down in Wyoming, and they said that there's like 10 of those bears that just eat strictly humans now. That they know they're just human hunters. They'll sit on the path on a hiking trail, wait for a human, and eat a human, but they're not allowed to hunt them still.
Yeah,
still not allowed to hunt grizzlies. So it's like, so they don't even go down and kill the bear after it kills somebody.
You know what's crazy to me is the idea that, like, here in Canada, if you kill a grizzly in self-defense, you need to be wounded.
Oh yeah.
If you're not wounded, they'll.
Oh yeah.
Then you
could lose your hunting license, all your rifles. You could have the possibility of going to jail.
Yeah.
It's insane. Completely insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you should be allowed to defend yourself against a monster.
Yeah.
Because that's what they are. They are monsters.
And if you don't think they're monsters, then you haven't seen
one. Yeah, you've never seen one.
You've never seen one.
It is not a black bear, I'll tell you that. Black bears are dangerous too. No shit. Yeah. There's more attacks by black bears just because there's more of them. But you want to see a scary bear, see a pissed off grizzly point blank. They are absolutely enormous. And it'll leave an imprint on you for the rest of your life. Yeah. Where you're like, yeah, maybe these things aren't the cuddly creatures that they've been fucking let off to be like on TV. Because they ain't Yogi Bear.
And they also hunt you.
Oh yeah, they'll stalk you.
They'll stalk you for hours,
like
days if you're out in the bush for days.
Yeah, they'll
play with you.
Yeah, they're scary. They're evil. They just look at you different, man.
Yeah.
So we need to do a little more shooting of them down here. That would really help us out, help our elk populations out, help the deer populations, and help the black bear populations because they love black bear cubs.
Black bear cubs.
Yeah, they'll go down and kill a black bear, no problem. It's not even like a fight. You see a black bear up against a grizzly bear, they're completely different animals, as you find out later. People think like, oh yeah, I know a black bear, grizzly bear. It's like, no. A black bear is like a cub to a grizzly bear. Like a small cub. Grizzly bears are giants, man.
There's no fight.
No.
There's no black bear going up against a grizzly
bear. No, not at all. It's just a black bear destroying. Yeah. It's like a conservative fighting a liberal. It's not even a close battle. You know, it's like not even close at all. It's a straight up death match.
It is. It's wild though. Grizzlies are, God. It's like God looked down and said, "What's the most terrifying thing I can possibly put on this planet?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, dinosaurs are gone. Now what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even polar bears. He made them look cuddly.
Yeah, I did. Oh yeah, no, they drink Coca-Cola Classics, guys. Don't you know? Old polar bears.
Yeah.
They're so cuddly. Polar bears are actually the most dangerous bears.
Yeah,
they are even bigger than a grizzly bear. They'll whip a grizzly bear's ass, no problem. And they swim fast too. And like actually, grizzlies and black bears can swim fast too. But grizzlies or polar bears like go underwater fishing for seals and shit. They're crazy.
Yeah, they're wild.
Yeah, and they're really hard to see because they live in the Arctic on the snow and the ice and shit.
And
they're white. So very hard to see when they're coming. And they're just so big. I don't think people really have an understanding about how big polar bears are. Because grizzly bears are huge, but polar bears are like, way bigger.
Massive.
Yeah. So scary sight to see. I've never seen one up close, but in Churchill in Manitoba here, we got, they actually have polar bears that just wander into town all the time. They have a polar bear jail.
Really?
You ever hear this? Yeah, dude. That's like one thing that they used to deter them. Is fucking jail. It's hilarious, and it seems to work. Because you know how polar bears, like, or black bears, like for instance, like in Fox Creek, there was some bears that came into town. They were getting into garbages, so they brought them over up in Grand Cache, like 4 hours away, driving on the highway, way up into the mountains, dropped these bears off. In 2 weeks, they were back. 2 weeks, they GPS somehow in their head, back to the same garbage cans they were eating out of in Fox Creek, right? Yeah. These polar bears in Churchill, they'll come wandering through town, they'll put them in an actual jail, they'll trank them, put them inside a little cell with bars and shit inside this building for a few days, whatever it is, and then they'll let them out later on, and these bears don't come back.
They're like, screw it.
Yeah, they're like, that sucked.
Penguins. It's just
I'm not sitting in that room anymore. Yeah, which is pretty crazy. But it's also crazy that, like, when people are trick-or-treating, they got to look out for polar bears. Yeah. Because there's polar bears just walking around town.
That's wild. That's crazy.
Yeah, so... And I don't think you're allowed to hunt polar bears anywhere.
They're endangered, aren't they?
I don't think you can hunt polar bears anywhere. Yeah. And that's another thing. Like, there's actually a thing now called growler bears. Because there's so much ice that's been going away. Polar bears have been coming out and mating with grizzly bears.
Really?
Yeah, so they call them growler bears.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, growler bears. So they're a little bit bigger than a grizzly, but they're not white like a polar bear. They're like they're like a blonde. Oh. So they're not dark brown like a grizzly. They're like light, whitish blonde hair. Yeah, growler bears.
Growler bears.
Yeah, you can check them out. Pretty crazy.
That's pretty well. If I can find a picture, I'll put a picture of that up right here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty wild out there. I think we should I think Canada does do their conservation very well.
We do, man. Yeah.
I think we do a lot of things when it comes to guns very well. I think America could learn a lot from us from how we do our everything that has to do with guns for the most part, besides these new bans and having.
I do like the concealed carry part of living in the States. Mm-hmm. One thing that I think that the States should have a law on is that I understand that it takes more time to get to your weapon, but I do think that having your guns in a locked safe is not a bad thing. Whether that be in your bedroom, in your drawer, maybe you have a locked drawer, maybe it could be that even, like maybe it doesn't have to be a huge safe and separated from the rest of the house somewhere where you have to go down and get it, because it is nice to have quick access if somebody's breaking in, but there is also pissed off teenagers who are just going out and shooting everybody in fucking schools because they can get their hands on them in the States, right? So there's got to be, and I know that starts with parenting, with mental health, all that shit, but I think that that's a good way of doing it, at least to have some kind of a barrier set up so kids can't get out. Toddlers aren't shooting themselves with guns and shit, you know what I mean? Because that happens a lot in the States too, and it's pretty sad to see little kid grabs a gun out of mom's purse and fucking shoots herself or something, right? Yeah. Like you need to have, or at the very least, you need to have trigger locks on. Yeah. You need to have something, some kind of a protection device on your gun, so that it can't just be taken out and used willy-nilly. Because there's people who get pissed off that they have to go do homework and they go shoot in fucking schools. A kid called them a dweeb, so they got to go fucking shoot him because people don't have thick skins anymore either. Everybody gets too offended and too worked up, and they go fucking, and they want to make a name for themselves. It's like there's weird culture with that now too, right? Like, so I don't know. I don't think that I think that is something the States can learn from us in that department.
I think definitely. I think the whole way that we handle our. Because there are a lot of states where you can literally go buy a gun with nothing. Oh yeah, right. And I think that's crazy to me. I think there should be, like what we do in Canada, where you have to take the PAL course and then your criminal record is checked once a month. Yeah, something like that I think is a reasonable expectation. Yeah, and maybe it's just because I've grown up here, and one thing that really proves that Canada might have gotten that part of it right is our gun violence doesn't include our own guns.
No, that's right.
Right? So it goes to show that system does.
Very few legal gun owners. Yeah. Very few. Yeah. You ever watch that show Michael Moore made back in the day? I know he's kind of a dweeb, but Bowling for Columbine? Yeah. He goes down, he's just showing how easy it is to get guns, and he goes to a bank and signs up for a new bank account in the bank, and they give him a gun. In the bank.
In the bank.
Yeah, they're like, okay, which gun would you want? He's like, what? They're like, yeah, we got shotguns, we got rifles, and then they show him a rack of rifles in the bank. Yeah. It's like, there's obviously like they're giving guns away at banks, like they're everywhere, you know? So it would be nice if there was a little more a bit more safety standards put in place before you could get a gun. We had to take a course at least, you know. Not just a background check, but you had to do a course to learn a bit about the gun. Yeah. I think that is safe, and that's a good way to do it.
I think so too.
But I do feel like here, once you've taken the course, you should have the option to conceal carry too. I do think that that's, I would like to see that in Canada. And I'm not opposed to that at all. And the reason why I think it would work better here is because we took the Pell course. Yeah. So I'd like to think that the people who took it are going to be safe with their guns. I know they're still always not. I know there's fucking people who are...
There's retards in every group.
Yeah, I know of a guy who used to live in my old town there who left his gun in the vehicle with his kids. They were outside of a store, and his kid had his hunting rifle in there. And his kid went and loaded a bullet into his gun, pulled the trigger in his car, shot the sidewalk right in front of the frickin' store with his hunting rifle.
Crazy.
Right? Crazy shit. Did it again, dude. Like a couple months later, the exact same thing happened with the same kid, same fucking thing. Left his truck loaded. He had his clip in his fucking gun, which is illegal to do. You're not allowed to drive with your clip in your gun when you're hunting or anytime. And the kid knows how to load it. The kid fucking stupid too. He did it again too. He's just a young kid, but still, it's like, fuck kid. That didn't scare you enough the first time? Yeah. So you do have dumbasses like that are out there that are going to be an exception, and there always is. But there's a lot of people who kill each other in car crashes too. So it's like, are we going to ban cars, from the highways? I mean,
I think that the good that comes, that comes from allowing citizenship to own guns far outweighs the bad.
I agree.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that, I think that we need to get back to, back in the day. I remember when I grew up, there was a time I got to a certain age, my dad took me out in the bush and he's like, here's a gun.
Yeah.
Let's learn how to use it. So, and I think we're missing a lot of that father-son, or daughter, father, or, daughter, parent, whatever. I know lots of female hunters too. So it's not a gender issue by any stretch of the imagination. I think that it should really be something that you teach your child when they get to a certain age.
I agree.
And take them out and teach them how to shoot. And it should be a family thing. It should be you need to teach respect for the weapons.
Oh, huge.
Right?
Yeah.
And you need to teach respect for the animals whose lives you're going to be taking. It should almost be like a passing of the torch type thing. And if any of you out there know me personally and you want to learn how to use a gun, I'd always be willing to take somebody out and teach them. If you truly want to learn, and if you want your kids to learn, I'll teach you both.
Yeah.
I'll take you out and teach you gun safety and
safe gun handling and stuff.
Because there is a lot that goes along with it. Like the government likes to make it sound like we're just a bunch of retards out there shooting at the moon and just a bunch of cowboys. But when you go to a gun range, it's you're super careful, and there's lots of rules that go along with it.
Yeah.
Right.
And you don't see people just firing all breaking the rules. And if they are, they'd be getting admonished immediately by people there. Be like, you don't be doing that shit here. Like, that's not.
Yeah, no, we're super careful. You're always careful about what's behind the thing you're shooting.
Yeah.
About who's around in the area.
Yeah.
There's just so much. It's us Canadian firearm owners are so respectful when it comes to owning a gun and respectful of the human life that we have in our hands when we are carrying a gun, that it's crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we do a good job, man. And I think we are kind of a beacon when it comes to that department of it, that the States could look up to a bit, But what I do love about the States too is that the reason why I think that they're gonna last as the most free country is because of how many guns they have.
Yeah. At the end of the day, that's the thing that's going to hold them up.
Yeah, because the government has to be worried about that no matter what, dude. Everybody there's so many guns there.
There's so many.
You're just not going to be going to people's houses, taking over their guns and shit. Yeah. That's not going to fly there, man. So I do like that. And I feel like they have a bunch of backbone when it comes to that. They're really strong about their gun rights, and I do like that too.
Yeah, I love that too. And I love that in America, You have police sheriffs telling people if somebody breaks into your house and they're a threat to you, then feel free to shoot them. It makes us have to do less paper.
I know, I love that.
Right?
Yeah, we're the complete opposite here.
Yeah.
You could get attacked in your own home and offend a guy for yelling at him and get charged with some kind of crime.
Yeah.
That's how stupid we are here.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, I love that in America you should have the right to defend yourself with 100%. Any weapon that you have available.
Yeah.
right? You should have the right to defend your family with any weapon that you have available. Here in Canada, you don't. We are expected to call the police and ask the criminal to please wait until the police show up so that we can have them.
Yeah, so that they can arrest you, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For 5 minutes.
They'll question you, and then you could tell them, like, no, he offended me, so then they'll let you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The pussification of the planet.
Pussification of the planet. So I love that about American gun laws. One side story I thought was really funny. During COVID, I went to the Canadian Tire and I was buying some rounds. And of course I have a PAL. You also in Canada, you can't just buy rounds. You can't buy bullets. You need to have a PAL to buy bullets too. Yeah. Like you can't get anything that has to do with guns or bullets without a PAL. So even if you purchase a gun illegally, you have to buy the rounds illegally because you can't buy them in a store. You need a PAL.
Yeah, you got to have your possession acquisition license.
Yeah. So I walk in there and buying some rounds, and I was talking to the guy. He was a pretty cool guy. Excuse me. And he was telling me about how he'd had this run recently of people who didn't know anything about guns at all. He was talking about, and he was a conservative guy. He's like, yeah, I'm getting a bunch of liberal people coming in here, and they're walking up to the counter, and they're like, I want to buy a gun, and he's like, okay, I'll sell you one. What do you want? And they're like, I don't know what's good. And he started like showing them and stuff, and they're like, oh, can I look at that? And he's like, yeah, sure. You can't even look at a gun in Canada without a PAL. As soon as you ask to see one, he's going to be like, okay, let me see your PAL. You're not even allowed to hold it in your hands. Yeah. Right? And they're like, what's a PAL?
Yeah, I have no idea. They just thought you could just go there and just buy them willy-nilly.
And that's what he said. He said they were surprised. They thought that anybody could walk in and buy a gun any time, that there was no regulation.
Yeah. No, right? Not at all.
But no. So now he's like, well, you need to go take the course if you want to get a PAL to buy a gun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, and during COVID, when everybody was worried about whether or not they were getting toilet paper, there was a run on weapons.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and ammo.
Yeah, and ammo.
That's for sure. There was an ammo shortage. But so was the government at the time. They bought up a ton of SKS ammo and shit like that, too. And 22s even. There was like a shortage of 22 shells for a long time. It was like, what the hell is going on?
Mm-hmm. But it was wild, right? Yeah, but I think if you took Canada and America's two systems, with the freedom of what guns you can purchase and what you can do with them, but then the control of who's allowed to buy them and what you have to take to buy them. I think if you put those two things together, you'd have a perfect system.
I would agree with that. Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, that's something that we should try to have for sure. Yeah. Hopefully we can try to make it happen.
Should we try to push for that when we become the 51st state?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Fuck, you think we should try wrapping her up, Nate, or what? We're just about an hour, 3.5 hours.
We're probably getting pretty close.
Yeah. But yeah, fuck it. I think that when Governor Trudeau is out and we got Governor Pierre in, yeah, we could have a nice talk with Trump and try to get some new gun safety regulations put in place. We're not taking nobody's guns away. Yeah. But making it so they got to take a course at least to understand gun safety a bit better. And,
I think that would be a good idea. Yeah. I think it's something that we could push to the Americans that really shows that, because I mean we can prove in our own society that system works.
Yeah,
right?
It definitely does.
And I think that's something we could kind of push on the Americans and say, you know what, maybe we'll do this if you do this.
Because even at the very least, like just for accidental shootings, it would tremendously decrease the amount of accidents. Because there's a ton of accidental shootings in the States, man. That's just because there's so many guns, so many people. So just with that, safe gun handling, people having to go through the courses and stuff, they would know what's right and wrong with the gun.
For sure.
So even at the bare minimum of that, even if it's not taking down the school shootings and all that, at least it's taking down the accidental shootings that people are doing, because that's a lot of people too. So it'd be a good thing, man.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So, do you want to get into final thoughts?
I might as well, eh?
Yeah, it's been
It's a good one today.
This is a good one today. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
I could have kept going, but I got to fucking work in the morning, so I'm like.
Yeah, I hear you. Me too. There was a couple more things I wanted to cover on becoming American, but I think I'll maybe cover a little bit of that in my final thoughts.
Yeah, there you go. Pump it into your final thoughts. You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
Sure, I can go first if you want.
All right.
Well, I'll start off with the stuff that I wanted to get to. I wanted to point out to you Americans that I know that Trump is joking around about this, and I do think that it's a personal attack on Justin Trudeau. I think he's trying to show Canada that there's not going to be any peaceful working between us until we get rid of this guy. And I think after that whole idea of us becoming the 51st state is going to kind of go away. I think once Pierre's in power and we know that the way that they look at the world is awfully similar. Mm-hmm. And that they're going to get along pretty well.
I think they will.
So I think either that's going to go away, because Pierre's he doesn't want to become an American. He's a Canadian. He's a patriot. I am also a Canadian and a patriot, and I think that you'll find a lot of Canadians are like this. This is a message to our American brothers. I think you'll find a lot of Canadians are like this. We are patriotic, but we wish we had your level of patriotism. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a terror inside of us, because we want to be loyal to our country, but we also want the good things that you have. The things that intrinsically become yours, the level of freedom that you have when you become an American, is something that is very appealing to the patriots in us, especially now that we know how easily those things can be taken away from us under the government that we're under. So, I mean, are we all going to be ready to jump onto the American bandwagon and start waving the American flag? I think there's going to be a fight from a lot of people, and I think there's going to be a lot of people who like the idea but aren't willing to vote for it. I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to straight up go, yeah, that's what I want. At the end of the day, you may not get the whole country. Even if it does get pushed, you may only, I could see Alberta going, I could see Saskatchewan going. Some of the more liberal provinces are going to be a fight to get them in to the union. And at the end of the day, I think it's a discussion worth having, but I don't think we should be making that decision until we hammer out what's going to be best for us as a country. I think I see Americans so much as my brothers that I could see myself as an American if that took place. And I think I could see myself being patriotic about being an American, because I love their level of patriotism. I love how much love when we go across the border and I go into downtown Eureka over there in Montana, and there's American flags hanging everywhere and all the country's colors hanging everywhere. You don't see that in Canada. People don't do that here. No. That really bothers me.
And it's like taboo almost nowadays to do that, you know?
And I would love to have that. I would really love to have that. I would love to be able to buy the guns. I really won't. Mm-hmm. I won't lie to you. That is huge. Yeah. One thing a lot of us Canadians are really terrified. Even the I know you have a lot of talks in your own country about free healthcare, bringing down the system and being communist. But we've actually kind of had a system that's worked up until recently very well. Recently, it's gotten to where we're not paying our doctors enough, and we can't keep doctors and nurses. And we our system's going to hell as it is. You can get free healthcare, but it's going to take you 2 years. So, but that's a tough one for Canadians to get past, the loss of free healthcare, because it is a system that's worked for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And myself, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm sure most Canadians would agree with, I am willing to pay more tax to have free healthcare. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's a lot involved in this. It's not a cut and dry, straight down the middle, this is what's best. I think there's a lot of things to look at. But I think a lot of us Canadians are willing to have that discussion.
Definitely.
Yeah,
for the amount of money we give away, we could have built some new hospitals.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, and that would have helped too, because there's such a shortage of hospitals and stuff too.
For sure. And I guess other than that, I'd just like to say that I'm kind of, with what's going on in the world right now, especially with countries all around the world. France just fell. Their liberal government just fell. Germany's liberal government just fell. We're looking at an era where the whole world is kind of moving over either to center or to conservative values. And that gives me a lot of hope. And I'm super excited to see what happens in the next couple of years, especially with who Trump's putting into place and with who I think, how I think Pierre is going to go. I'm kind of excited with how things are going to go here in North America in the next couple of years. And I'm going into things with a lot of hope. I think that's the best way to handle this. I've always been a believer in hoping for the best and preparing for the worst. But, my hope level is pretty high right now.
Yeah, it's good, man.
So, yeah, other than that, I guess that's about all I got.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, hope for the best and prepare for the worst. I hope that old Pierre, when he gets in here, he does a good job, does the stuff that he says he's going to do. And I I want him to honestly be like Trump, because Trump was one of the only people who ever actually did what he said he was going to do when he was in office his first term. And I think this next, like Nate said here, these next few years are going to be pretty exciting. It could be the first real years of some change that we see. So I'm really looking forward to that too. And I also am hopeful. I don't know if we're, I think that once Pierre's in there, I think that all that talk about Canada being part of the U.S. will probably get brushed aside, and they'll be able to make things work, and it'll work out good for them and us. We'll be able to make a good partnership. But yeah, Trudeau is just such a pussy and just such a fake human being that Trudeau or Trump has absolutely no respect for him. Yeah. And he wants nothing to do with him, and rightfully so, because no respectful human wants to deal with a guy like that. He's a complete piece of garbage. So I've been a little more harsh on this podcast about them, because I'm just sick of it, man. I can't handle it anymore. And after just seeing him just talk absolute nonsense again here just this last week after all this stuff's been going on, I'm just done. I can't deal with it anymore. We need to stand up as Canadians and start pushing back against this guy, whether you're left, right, center, whatever. You can't deny that this is bad for the country. And if I think that as Canadians, what Nate was saying, that they're patriotic in the States, I would love to see that in Canada here. And one thing that I don't like is that when you're coming over to Canada, you need to be Canadian through and through. You can't be coming over here calling us pieces of shit and burning our flag. And if that is the case, I think that those people have to go back to where they came from too, because that's not going to create any good things in our country here. That's just going to create more division, and we already have enough division in our country. We're trying to come together as Canadians. And I think that's what we need to do. And people need to look after one another. We used to be known as a kind country and stuff. And it's all good to be kind, but not to the point where you're going to be getting the government just doing whatever they want to you. And we're just letting people come in and burn all of our traditions to the ground and not allow us to say the things that we want to say because it offends certain people and stuff. Like, at that point, we need to stand up as Canadians too, because we are fighting for something. We do have an identity as far as I'm concerned, and we're strong and free. We're not just free to let the government do whatever they want. So remember that. And God bless you guys. Hope you guys have a good time. We're going to hopefully punch out another podcast here in the next couple of weeks. So we'll get another one out to you guys, and stay tuned. And I think she was a good one, Nathan.
I think it was a good one. That one went pretty good. Just a little. Everybody always remember to help out your fellow man. It's all about pulling each other up, not holding each other down. So let's go out there and try to make the world a better place for everybody.
That's right.
And let's go there. Remember, we're all in this together. So when somebody's working with you, work with them. And always remember, too, when somebody's working against you, make sure you're not helping them.
That's right. And in the words of our founding fathers, fuck Trudeau.
Fuck Trudeau.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy. Yeah. All right. Awesome. We'll have some links down below this where you can go and see our various social media. We got Before the Storm Outdoors, and we got the Good Man Initiative. And we've each got our own separate social media sites that you can go to and go follow us, subscribe to us, send us some love. And we've also got a couple merch sites, so I'll put those up in the links as well if you want to go and get some merch. So.
And don't remember to, hit the like and subscribe button. You could grab the like button, bring it over to Justin Trudeau's house, hit her on repeat, just screaming fuck Trudeau, left, right, and Sally. That'd be fantastic.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Right. Okay, well. Okay. Love you guys.
Peace. Awesome.